Hey everyone, guess what? We do not have ugly swag. We have spaced out radio gear that you're going to want to wear. Why? Because no one wants to wear ugly clothing. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com and go shopping today. You'll be glad you did. And it's a great way to support our show. Once you get your gear, send us a picture of you rocking out in your SOR swag. spacedoutradio.com, shop there today, and make yourself look good.
Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio, the After Hours radio show with me, your host, Mr. Rob G. It is going to be an awesome show tonight. We have Jay Wasley from Ghost Adventures on Discovery, I believe it is. On TV, I know you've seen it. We're definitely going to be jumping into conversation with him here tonight, so it should be awesome for hours 1 and 2. Then, obviously, Drew Banky with the After Hours wrap-up. Steve Stockton Tells and Told Mr. Person Mysteries. Great show for a Sunday is going to be awesome. Let's go ahead and see who's come in first here. Looks like we have, courtesy of Race Fan with the gold. We have Frankie B with the silver, and then Road Flare with the bronze. So I want to say what's up to everybody while we have time here. Frankie B saying good evening, Frankie B. Appreciate you showing up. T-Bone, hi, Mr. Rob G and all. Hey, appreciate you showing up. Dave Doherty, how long until it starts? It starts now. I hope you came back, David. Appreciate you coming on in and checking in, though. As well, Lil Camp 51 is present for sure. He's present. Eternity Eternal is in the building. Appreciate you showing on up. Roger Murray dropping some knowledge. April 13th, 2018, 7th anniversary of the passing of Art Bell. Rest in peace. April 13, 1970, 55th anniversary, Apollo 13, Houston. We have a problem. Happy Palm Sunday. Appreciate you for keeping us up to date and informed. Roger Murray, thanks for coming into the show tonight. Appreciate you showing up. And Joanne as well. Who else? We got Kitty Catty Whack saying, don't know if I'll be able to stay awake tonight, but if I miss anything, I will be there for the replay because the archives are 100% free, guys. And Kitty Catty Whack just let you know that. But we would love to have you here if you can be here as well. We got Lead the Bee in the building saying, hey, Robin, SOR friends, appreciate you showing on that Lead the Bee as well. We got David Norenberg. I hope I'm at the right place for tonight's show. Nursing seems to be several listed that are going to be coming up live. Yeah, we have a whole week show set out in advance, so appreciate you coming in. And I'll let you know how everything works here momentarily as we try to get through the roll call. We got Lavera Lucchini. Ha, ha, ha. I'm not a later. Hello, everyone. I am now calm. Okay, great. Perfect time to come on into the show, Lavera. Thanks for showing up as well. We have Kevin Kennedy in the building. TMI saying hello, T-Bone. Appreciate you, Kevin Kennedy. Lars Jansen. Appreciate you showing on up here tonight for the show. Izzy Beth as well saying hi all. Who else do we have? Will we get through it? I see Mark Eddy. Where's Mark Eddy at? Mark Eddy is here. I just saw him, and he's right there. Hi, Mark Eddy. Thanks for coming in as well. Robert Lamar Jr., thanks for showing up. Kurt M., thanks for coming in. Who else did I miss? Flubber Lane, thanks for showing up. Lisa Piper. We got about 8 seconds before I got to start the podcast sign. Can I get to everybody? I don't know. If I miss you, I'll get you on the next break for sure. Oh, can't forget Mel WD-40. He has to get us lubed up for the show. Mel, man, last minute. So here we go, starting the podcast side of this here. Welcome to Spaced Out Radio, the After Hours radio show with me, your host, Mr. Rob G. We have Jay Wasley from Ghost Hunters. You might have seen him on cable, hours 1 and 2. We're going to be also jumping into After Hours wrap up with Drew Banky in hour 3. Steve Stockton tells and told Mr. Person Mysteries and some UFO news. Going to be a great show, guys. Don't go anywhere as we start right about now. Greetings, space travelers. Welcome home. You just tuned your dial to Spaced Out Radio, the only place where you can own the night. I am your host, Mr. Rob G. And tonight, we're broadcasting on our terrestrial affiliates across North America, plus digitally on digital platforms all around the world. Don't forget, you can access our archives for absolutely free. YouTube.com/at Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, you may as well consider hitting the subscribe button. Also, don't forget to follow us on X and Instagram at Spaced Out Radio and at Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website, the spacedoutradio.com, where the options are endless. You can stay up to date with SR Newswire. You can get yourself some official Spaced Out swag. Plus, you can rock out to the man that you hear right there, Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Dahl, and oh, so much more. Fantastic show we're going to have here tonight. We got Jay Wasley from Ghost Adventures, hours 1 and 2. Steve Stockton tells and told Missing Person Mysteries. Andrew Banky with that hour's wrap up in hour number 3, plus some UFO and weird news to go on and send you into your week. It is going to be awesome. Let me go ahead and bring our guest right up on the stage. We don't really play around here. We get right to business, and we're going to do that right now with our guest, Jay Wasley. Hi, Jay.
Hey, Rob. How's it going?
All right, Jay. You're big time in this thing, man. You're out there doing research on a large stage, which is awesome to be able to talk to someone that's doing that. Yeah, I endeavor for everyone out there who is doing some sort of research to be able to affect a lot of people at once. So awesome stuff. How did you actually get into that? Like, what led you down the road to becoming a paranormal researcher?
Yeah, so it was kind of uncannily how it all came together at the time. So I've been with the show for 15 years now. I started back in 2010, and originally the show started 2008, and they would hire a local sound guy wherever they would go across the country. But sometimes, when you're investigating the paranormal, you're in the middle of nowhere. So the second year of the show, they got picked up again for more episodes, and they decided they wanted to bring on a full-time sound guy. And at the time, I was doing a lot of camera work and audio work in the New York, Philadelphia area, a lot of reality TV, movies, things like that. And my name just got thrown in as a go-to sound guy. So they called me and hired me to come out to be their sound engineer during the show. And if you're not familiar with the show, it's basically split into 2 halves. The first half is more research, documentary. We do a lot of interviews, things like that. And that's what I originally worked on. The second half of the show, just the original host, they would just go in and they would investigate. I wasn't part of the investigation. But being such a small group of people, we became good friends. I started working regularly. And that's the thing, too. We film every other week. So for the last 15 years, I've been doing this every single other week. We get an extra break at Christmas, things like that, holidays. But it's been nonstop since. So we became a close-knit family early on. And basically, one day, Zach was sharing an EVP, which is electronic voice phenomena, which most of you might know when you record and you play back and there's a voice in the recording. And it was from Johnny Cash's house in Jamaica, where we filmed prior to that. And Zach was like, "Hey, Jay, like, does this sound like Johnny Cash's voice to you?" This is just, we're in the car driving to the next location. And I was like, yeah, it actually does. He knows I was a big music guy, still am. So I was like, you can actually take that EVP and do a waveform analysis and basically get like a digital vocal fingerprint, if you will, of that EVP. And then you can do it for a sample of Johnny Cash's voice and then compare the two. And he's like, oh, you can do that? He was like, kind of like, that's amazing. Let's do that. And I was like, yeah, you can easily do that. I'm a tech guy. That's what I do. And he's like, well, why don't you do it? And he pulled me in front of camera and he had me do this analysis. And then from there, it was kind of, I was throwing out different ideas, different experiments, different ways to approach, our paranormal research with the show. And then I became more and more full-time in front of the camera.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I looked at some of your work. I watched Demon House. I watched it a few times actually, and just the cinematography is excellent on that. You're great at what you do. So awesome stuff. What type of stuff have you worked on prior to Ghost Adventures?
Oh man, I've done, even dozens of feature films, some that may see, a lot of indie films, other television series. There's a thing called day playing when you're a crew guy where you kind of hop on different shows here and there. So I just did all kinds of stuff for major network shows, a day here, a day there, sound guy, camera guy. Worked on a lot of different films as art directors, sound guy, camera guy, producer, things like that. I helped develop some shows early on, kind of shooting the pre-concepts for shows and getting them to air. So it was something I was always into and kind of I've done my whole life, really. I started, I guess, professionally in that world back in 2001, 2002, when I started just working in film and kind of doing any job I could. Especially back then, you would work for free on the weekends, just helping people try to make films, and then just kind of built myself up from there.
And so you weave down that windy road that life takes us through, and you end up on a show that investigates the paranormal. So it's like, did you come into the job knowing that that's what you would be doing, or were you seeking something like that at the time?
At the time, it was just another show. Honestly, at first, it was just a gig. I was just hired to be their sound guy. I didn't think much of it. But I would say working in reality TV, working in different film and TV, shows, and my experience, when I saw that first episode of Ghost Adventures that I worked on just as the sound guy, when it came to air and I watched it, it was the first time I've ever seen a show that I was like, this is legit. This is what really happened while we were there. A lot of TV, gets made to look certain ways, things like that. But I was honestly impressed with the show and how it was. And even since then, we have no, producers. There's no producers telling us what to do. There's no network that's telling us what to do. The four of us on the show have 100% creative control, and which is great because then we can really actually focus on what the passion is, and that's basically researching and investigating the paranormal.
That is awesome. I'm so glad that you addressed that early on, because obviously people out there, skeptics mainly, are going to be the ones that want to compare you to those other things that we know are pre-staged and pre-planned. So for you to sit here and say that what you saw on as final product after all the edits, that it was essentially reflected the experience that you had, that's actually awesome.
Thanks. And I get it too. I don't blame people. I understand it, and even now I still approach things skeptically, even as, I'm a believer. I've witnessed more than enough. I've witnessed things fly off the ground. I've been dragged backwards. I've had scratches. I've witnessed exorcisms, possessions, rituals, all around the world at this point. And so there's no doubt I believe it, but I still approach everything skeptically. And I try to, want to be able to document it the best I can to show the audience, because I know it's tough. It's tough to just turn on the TV and believe everything you see. So that's why we go above and beyond to try to really show you and document these things the best that we can.
That is cool. That is cool. So you work with Zach Baggins, and some people may have heard his name before. He's big. He's definitely big into this field as well, as a researcher. And he has or I don't know if he still has it, but he had a museum in Las Vegas. Is that still thing? Okay.
Yeah.
And so if you could just tell people like what this museum consists of. Like,
yeah, absolutely. This is it's an amazing place. I was just there recently, a couple weeks ago. We just filmed an episode for the new season coming up there. Basically, it's a collection. So to back up how it kind of started, we've been traveling for, probably almost a decade at that point, or maybe a little less than a decade. Let me correct that. And everywhere we go, we're natural collectors. We're inquisitive. We want to learn. We thirst for knowledge, and, traveling as much as we did, you end up collecting things. And Zach had these things at his home. We all have different stuff. I have a room at my house where I collect things and keep it. And he started having stuff, but he started having things happen in his home where, like, paranormal events, all kinds of stuff happening. And he realized, he's like, I can't keep this stuff in my house anymore. So we got the idea and wanted to actually be able to put it somewhere in a museum and actually be able to show people too. And that's, I guess, how the spark started. And then from there, he developed it into a full museum. I don't even know how many objects, but it's absolutely amazing, the work that he's put into it and his team, and everything. I try to help as much as I can when I'm around, help out with stuff. We were just doing something for a new exhibit that just opened up about Bobby Mackey's Music World. If you know, that's like a famous place, a haunted location in Kentucky. So, and it's always evolving. So he has like some of the world's most famous haunted objects, like Peggy the doll, the Dybbuk box, now basically Bobby Mackey's. You mentioned Demon House earlier. At the end of that, not to spoil it, but we ended up tearing the house down, and we actually reassembled the stairs, and we had all the original dirt that was in the basement, and we basically reassembled that into the museum. And it's basically kind of turned into a hub for paranormal research. It's open for tours and the public comes through, but he has security cameras everywhere, and we're always catching new evidence. We're hearing people's experiences. And it's cool because, for lack of a better term, these are just 9 to 5 people that aren't necessarily paranormal investigators that are having these experiences. So it kind of adds another layer to our research.
And you're in Vegas, and I'm truthfully in Vegas a lot myself. I'm right here in Bakersfield, California, so not too far. So I'm back and forth all the time, but I'm just, you know how it is when you go there so many times, you're not doing the tourist stuff.
Oh yeah,
so,
for sure. Yeah.
and I'm kind of in and out, but I always on my list is to go to that museum. So I know we're going to be there with Spaced Out Radio May 1st through 5th.
Okay.
We'll be all gathering up there, and I'm going to put that on the list. I'm going to make sure that we all go.
Highly recommend it. Even if, you're not necessarily into the paranormal aspect, the history, the objects, and like I said, the experience that the tour guides, it's a guided tour. You just learn a lot. It's a really cool, it's kind of the darker side of history. It's a one of a kind, unique experience.
Yeah. And that Demon House was a real possession, right? This was like a modern day exorcist sort of situation, wasn't it?
Yeah, that spawned a news story broke about the Ammons family, which was a family, and basically they were getting investigated by CPS workers. The police stepped in because the kids were missing school. There was signs of possible abuse, things like that. So they got investigated. But the thing was, all the people investigating this case started having paranormal activity, and they were claiming that it was demonic possession in the home, and that's what's causing all these problems. But the chief of police, social workers, there was even a doctor in the hospital when one of the kids were brought in, witnessed the kid walk backwards up a wall and flip up over the ceiling. So it was just the story basically shook us. We're like, wow, there's so many credible people that are witnessing this.
Yeah,
we got to look into this. And right away, as soon as the news story broke, Zach and I started talking. We're like, hey, we got to do something with this. So he's like, oh, let me see if I can find the owner of the house. He reached out to the owner, made an offer, and he bought the house. So he bought the house, which was another amazing thing for research. When we do the regular show, we're kind of in and out. We have basically 3 days that we kind of conduct our filming, but that's kind of it. It's to the point and it's great. But Demon House we were able to span it out over the course of, I think it might have been a couple years, where we'd kind of go in between filming the regular show and just spend time out there, kind of come back home, digest what we experienced, and then go back again and kind of, keep trying to, it was great for the scientific idea of basically being able to repeat your investigations and repeat your research. So it was just this mecca of, really intense paranormal activity. And the thing was, with the Demon House, everybody that went in there had issues. Things from like the chief of police came over to do an interview and tell us his experiences. And when he leaves the house, he calls us, oh, I just slipped on ice and I'm in the hospital now. Or, there was a guy installing the internet because we had to have it for the cameras. And he's like, oh, I just got in a car wreck, or it was just anybody that came to the house, which we show in the documentary. And there's even more that we didn't even get to show, but it seemed like every person in that house was having some kind of issue.
Yeah, what led Zach to tear it down? Too much activity there, as far as looky loos.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, I know it affected him in a major life-changing way. It affected him physically with his eyesight. That was a big part of him.
Okay.
He saw things in that house, I think. I don't want to speak for him, but I think it really shook him. And, I even had a friend, we had a camera operator named Adam, who was a good friend of mine from Philadelphia, that I brought out because we just wanted to bring an extra camera guy. And he literally went crazy. If you see it, he kind of starts fighting something in the hallway, and it's 2 o'clock in the morning. We're in a hotel. People are yelling at us like, "We're going to call the cops!" Like, what's going on? And he's just lost it. And off camera, I sat down with him, and he's like, "Honestly, Jay," he's like, "I didn't believe you guys." He's like, "I didn't believe in this." He's like, "But I've been out here for 3 days with you, and it's completely changed my life. And I've witnessed things that it was like breaking down his sense of reality and what was happening." And we had to send him home early, unfortunately.
Yeah, I heard there were a lot of cases like that where people quit on scene and just wouldn't go back into the house. And the thing, and for people out there who may not have even seen this, which I don't know how you haven't, but they had police officers who were witness to and got on camera and talked about their experiences there. So just a lot of different people who, and it's like, okay, maybe if it was just this small group, but no, you had people from every walk of life who had crossed through there and had some sort of experience. For me, like years ago, when you're a kid, you're growing up, you walk through dark rooms, you think you hear something, almost sure you did, but then you're not. Okay, you forget about it, you move on. For me, paranormal activity didn't really become a reality for me, truthfully, until I watched that show. I used to kind of look at it side-eyed, but when I saw all those different individuals who were talking about what was real there, their experience, I'm like, this has to be real. And then I had my own experience a few years afterwards. So yeah, this paranormal stuff is real. What have you experienced? Like, what was your first personal experience with the paranormal?
So I think I don't know if it's necessarily my first, but one of my most major experiences, almost still to this day, was even well before the show. I was a teenager, and I was playing in a band at the time, and all my bandmates and our friends that were hanging out were like, "Let's play the Ouija board tonight." We're just teenage kids. We're like, "Let's play the Ouija board," and we're like, we want to go all out. Let's get creeped out. Let's figure out, anything ritualistic we can come up with. So we had incense, we had candles, we had a water dish, a dagger, basically anything you see in movies, like anything you can think of, we put it together just to kind of set the scene, And we're doing the Ouija board, and, we started talking to a spirit that claimed it was a little boy. And it kept saying its name was Z-O-Z-O. And we're like, that's a weird name. Didn't think of anything of it. And then eventually I noticed the incense smoke was going like this, and it would blow down to the dagger. And I was like, that's kind of weird. So I picked up the dagger, moved it to the other side of the board. The incense smoke would change and go to the dagger. I was like, that's kind of weird. So I started moving it, and everywhere I moved the dagger, the incense smoke would change its direction and flow down to the dagger. So then I asked through the Ouija board, I said, are you attracted to the dagger? And it said yes. And I was like, okay. We all kind of were like, all right, this is getting weird. This is getting creepy, And we're like, all right. And I asked, probably in fairness, one of the stupidest questions I ever asked. I said, can you come through the dagger into us? And it said yes right away. So we all stop. We kind of take a minute. We're like, all right, well, this is what we wanted to do. We wanted to experience, we wanted to get creeped out. So we're like, let's do it. Let's figure out, how do we do this? So my one buddy of mine and myself, we both agreed we would hold the dagger and just see what happens. So we're holding the dagger. It's in a sheath, so you can actually hold onto the blade and not cut yourself. I'm holding one end, he's holding the other end, and we lay on our backs. We're laying there, and we verbally say, okay, you can come through now. You can come into us. And I just got this overwhelming feeling of sadness, like to my bones, like from my head to my toes, just feeling of sadness that rushed through me. My buddy jumps up, knees now on my shoulders, I'm on my back, and he's fighting with me with the knife. He breaks it out of the sheath and lunges it towards my throat, and I'm holding him, like basically every strength I have. I'm shaking. The blade's past my chin at this point. He's pushing down at me. I'm just shaking, holding him back. This probably lasts a good 10, 15 seconds, which sounds quick, but it was way too long and terrifying. And all of a sudden, he just goes full limp, full tears, crying, had no idea what happened. And we're all just shocked. And we're like, all right, we're done. Let's pack this thing up and all just head on home. We were done after that.
Jeez, that's bananas. My only encounter was a shadow person, which I'll show you because I got it. Every time I talk to someone paranormal, I have to show you this because it's data, and a lot of people get blown away when they see it. But what turns just a regular haunting into a situation where an entity or a spirit would then want to enter a human being? Like what is from your research, what is the main reason that you could come up with that would be the case? Are they not, do they want to take physical form again, or what do you think?
I think it's partially that. I think it's being able to do those things. You know, the theory that I've kind of grasped onto with that is that, you know, when our spirit is there, it doesn't have the physical body anymore. So it doesn't have necessarily the five senses that we do. It doesn't have the smell, the taste, you know, it probably sees in some other way that we can't even imagine, or it doesn't hear the same. You know, it doesn't have those experiences that we have. So by entering into a living, it can feel, it can taste, it can, you know, have those things. And that's why a lot of people, you see cases when they become possessed, they start doing drugs, they start drinking a lot, they start leaning towards these, you know, the wild side of life, if you will, and kind of, you know, which kind of plays into that, like these things that are affecting people want to feel that, they want to experience that.
Yeah. What do you think the fascination is for people out there who are, you know, who get into ghost hunting? Like, what is your, when you get it, now that you're into it, you kind of were led into it, but now that you're in it, 15 years in, like, what ends up being the goal for you? Say, when it's all said and done, what do you hope to achieve or accomplish by the end?
Right. I mean, it's a tough one because it's always changing, honestly. I would be the first person to tell you I have experience doing this. I have theories, I have knowledge, but I'll never be the one that's like, I know it all. I know everything. I got this. I want to know more. I want to learn. There's times where we've been filming so long where I've talked to friends or people and I'm like, what else could really happen? You know, at this point, I've seen so much, I've witnessed so much. What else could happen? But then we'll go on an investigation and my mind still gets blown and I can't figure it out. And I think that's what drives me. I kind of almost love when I can't figure it out because it sticks with me and it keeps you up at night. And I want to figure out what it is. I think it's something we all have inside of us. You know, we all kind of want to know what happens after we leave this world when we pass away. And, so we're in a position where we're actually able to try to figure that out week after week and be able to document it and share it with people. Another thing, so in a long-term goal, I think it would be to find that, I guess what you would call like the holy grail of evidence, where it's like, all right, hands down, no matter what, all the skeptics are going to finally agree that like, you can't deny this. But then the problem is there's still always going to be skeptics. I was talking to a friend the other day about like, oh, the day the alien ship flies down right over and everybody sees it, it'll be like, oh my God. But then 10 minutes later, everyone's still scrolling on their phones and going to work. And it would kind of, I wonder how much will really stick with people, but that's ultimately the goal. There was a point too, I think, doing this where I kind of start feeling like, what are we doing something bigger for, the community or society? Do I need to do that as a human being, like kind of fulfill it? And then I started hearing from fans that would reach out and thank us and say either they've dealt with a loss of a family member, things like that. And it's given them hope. Watching our show has got them hope. Watching our show has brought families together that have nothing in common, but they love our show. So they get together to watch it. And
that's awesome. I'm glad that you picked up on that. And we'll talk more about that with our guest here, Jay Wasley from Ghost Adventures. Getting into really good conversation tonight, guys. Make sure you don't go anywhere. If you do, come right back. right, and we are clear. And I noticed some extra people came in, and I didn't get to everyone here. Let me go ahead and say hello to a few other people here. May May. May is here. Do you keep up with the dead files? Okay, you're talking to Jessica Jones, the cryptid huntress, who was out there. Gotta shout her out real quick here. Where is she at? Jerry Carter. I see you out there. There she is. Jessica Jones, cryptid huntress. Appreciate you showing on up here tonight, Jessica Jones. Awesome, Jessica Jones. Also, we got NT. Can Jay talk about Goatman's Bridge? I'll mark that. I'll start. I will star that for sure. Let's see. Okay. Not sure who this May. Or no, the Haunted Scott. The host owes me an email. He wants me on the show next week. Did I reach out to you? I've reached out to a lot of people. Please let me know and we can go ahead and get that situated. Email me at afterhours@spacedoutradio.com if that's the case. Who else do we have out here? Deb from Sacramento. Yeah, the Ouija board shite is real. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
We recommend you burn all Ouija boards if you have any in your home. Deb from Sac, thanks for the support here. I have it on good authority that ghosts love pizza. Okay. All right. Why not? Let's see. Yes, Julie Farrell. Thank you so much, Sister Julie. Put questions in caps, please. That helps. Yeah, to look through all this stuff. Please make sure they're in caps as well. And I'll tag them, I'll star them, and we will ask them to our guest here tonight. Yeah. You need to email me, Rob RL Pool. Not yeah, it doesn't ring a bell. It'd be easier if you email me. That way we can initiate the conversation. You can do that right now while we're on break. Send me an email afterhours@spacedoutradio.com. Kenzie Watson is here for the Ghost Adventures talk. That's what I'm talking about. Awesome. Thanks for showing up here tonight. And yeah, so for everybody out there, if you're here for the first time, we do this 7 days a week here. So right now you're catching the After Hours radio show, which is Saturdays and Sundays from 8 p.m. Pacific. We run until 11. The interview's over at 10 p.m. Pacific. We do that Saturdays and Sundays. Also, we have Dave Scott, conductor of the Woo Train, running the show from 9 p.m. Pacific until midnight, Monday through Friday. Then we have Element 115 with Lee and Tim on Fridays at 8 p.m. Pacific, runs until 9. So 7 days a week, you'll find something all the time on this channel. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button and notification bell because we would love to see each and every one of you back here at the show. And I think we are almost current here. We got Lakeside Laura. Hey, appreciate you showing up. We got Leecham the Spicy Lizard. Thanks for coming on in. And okay, I got this question here. I tagged it for you. May, I got you. Flat 6. Yes, Flat 6 is here in the building too. Standing Stone 1776. Appreciate you showing on up. And yeah, okay, we're doing good. Yeah, Jay, appreciate you, man, coming in, and hope everything's going well. You got your new season. We got to bring that up, right? Let me see here.
Yeah, 3 days away.
All right, we're coming back in about a minute. I'm gonna see if I can get the graphic for it here. All right, we got about 45 seconds, and I wonder if we can play the trailer. Let me see here. All right, coming back in 5 seconds here. All right, everybody, welcome back to Spaced Out Radio, the After Hours radio show with me, your host, Mr. Rob G. We are back with our guest, Jay Wasley, producer, director, cinematographer, just all of the above on the show, Ghost Adventures. We're actually going to be checking out some of that, getting some more of that conversation in this half hour. Make sure you don't go anywhere. If you missed anything so far, as you know, you can jump in the archives absolutely free. YouTube.com/that Spaced Out Radio. And as we are back here, Ghost Adventures, Jay, you have the premiere for this season coming up in a few days here.
Yeah, we're 3 days away. April 16th, Wednesday night, premiere of season 29, which is, I don't even know where the time's gone, but it's been wild. And we kick it off with a good one too. It's actually a 2-hour investigation of the original Poltergeist house, where they actually filmed the original horror movie in the 80s. And if you know anything about the movie, it was actually riddled with trauma, tragedy, a lot of paranormal activity. They actually felt there was an actual curse on the movie itself. So we got to investigate that house, which was super surreal. As a horror movie fan, it was amazing just to see it. But then to get there, and what was cool, we originally went just to do a regular 1-hour episode, a regular investigation. But we got such amazing evidence and absolutely mind-blowing evidence, possibly even some almost holy grail level evidence in this investigation, that we dove even deeper into it, and it turned into a 2-hour longer special investigation.
Yeah, the Poltergeist house is just iconic. And I just, as a kid, remember the skeletons coming up from under the pool. And that's the thing that sticks out in my mind. And just the girl getting taken. That was pretty horrific, though, now that I think about it. That whole experience must have been just tragic for
well, it was amazing how we found that there was a lot of the stories in the movie were actually kind of happening in real life as well. Turned out that where the home was built, that there actually was built right next to a Native American burial ground, which was the basis of the movie and why the house in the movie was haunted in the first place. So we did a lot of research. We talked to local tribes. We actually discovered this, and the house didn't let down. It was absolutely highly active.
That is insane. Wow. I wonder if they knew that ahead of time before picking the location.
Right. Yeah. I don't think they did. I think, because we talked to different people. We talked to some of the crew that were out there, even some of the neighbors that kind of remember them filming there, and their experiences, things they saw and happened. And it seemed like in the moment they didn't realize that, but they were all experiencing different types of paranormal and different types of hauntings.
And essentially anywhere you build is going to be Native American territory anyway. So high possibility that you might be building on some burial ground as well, especially here in the United States. I'm sure everywhere. But I have up the actual clip for the trailer for the show.
Season,
Let me actually bring it back up here. Okay. Let me I'm going to full screen this for our YouTube audience. For our radio audience, we're playing the trailer for the upcoming season here of Ghost Adventures, which is on Wednesday, April 16th. And what time does it show, and what channel?
It comes on 10 p.m. on Discovery Channel.
On Discovery. Okay, guys, here we're going to go ahead and check it out.
Spirits, real life witches. Nobody else has ever investigated this before. Our biggest, most historic seance to date. Harry Houdini. We're going to use your energy, a blood relative.
I think this is getting dangerous.
I'll sacrifice myself.
Get your hand off that!
All right. Yeah, without obviously giving any spoilers, what can we expect on the new season here?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I mentioned earlier, we've been doing this a long time, and this season definitely stands out as I'm actually anxious to rewatch some of these places, some of the experiences we had. This whole batch of shows coming out, it kicks off, like I said, with a 2-hour Poltergeist, which is just an iconic location. And then we go back to the Winchester Mystery House, which is, if you don't know of it, it's such a cool spot. It was, I think it was a daughter of the Winchester rifle founding people. And Sarah Winchester, yeah. And then, she kind of felt that her family was cursed based upon all the people that died from the rifle. So she just started building this mansion that was always under construction. So there's stairwells to nowhere. There was a lot of history about her communicating with the spirits and trying to appease the spirits that were killed by the rifles that her family made. So we filmed there before, we've investigated, but this time we went back on the 100th anniversary of when Houdini was last there. And Houdini was known for doing these seances there. He was big into the occult and seances, things like that. So we actually get to go on the 100th anniversary of his seance there. And we tracked down the only known blood relative of Houdini. We brought him there. And we had some other special guests with us. And we performed a seance in the Winchester Mystery House, trying to contact Harry Houdini's spirit. And we capture visual evidence through a Polaroid camera specifically that still is one of those things that just blows my mind. And what I find is really cool about the Polaroid itself is that it's right there. You see us take the picture, you see the picture come out, you see the picture develop right in front of you. There's no way that it's, doctored or messed with or anything like that. It's a physical thing you can hold in your hand and you see it develop right there in front of you. So that's a really excited one. We went back to also to another location called the Glen Tavern Inn, which is just a really cool, iconic, kind of like a hotel that just has that really classic haunted feel. We actually bring out a guest investigator, which I believe is from your hometown in Bakersfield. Jonathan Davis, the lead singer of the band Korn, joins us on that one.
Nice. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, which was super cool to have him out. And it was amazing. You think, he's awesome dude, rock star, but like he was into it. He was really like, we brought him out and he felt like he was originally like he was part of the team, like he was always there, which was really cool. And I remember we had really experiences. And I remember one time, I grew up listening to his music, so it was really cool to be able to like know him and have him there. I remember one time during the investigation, he just looks at me and he's like, "You've got the coolest job, man." He was just loving it. And I was like, wow, that's so amazing to hear that. My young teenage self would be going crazy right now. So that was really cool to have him out. We also have comedian Matt Rife that joins us on an investigation that we did kind of outside of Vegas. There's a old casino hotel that's actually in the process of being shut down called Whiskey Pete's. And it's not demolished, but it was gutted. So we investigate that. There was a lot of stories there, a lot of workers, a lot of people, even a lot of tragedy that's happened there. So we dove deep into that case, which was amazing because, if you're in Vegas, you're used to the loud, bustling kind of casinos. And so to walk into a casino floor and it's just 99% empty and quiet, but you can still feel that energy in there is such a surreal place. So we had access to the entire thing, multiple floors. So it was a really cool investigation. We also investigate some other places. We do an investigation back at the museum, at Zach's museum in Vegas, because Zach got a new item, some remnants of basically to do with a serial killer. And it was causing all these issues. And since he brought it to the museum, it was causing issues. So we decided let's go back. We haven't been there in a while to investigate. And we did an investigation at the museum, which turned out to be pretty wild. And there's some crazy things happening. I can't talk too much about it right now, but even now the episode's over and it's getting ready to air, but I feel there's elements to that case that are still happening, which unfortunately I can't get into, but hopefully you guys will be able to hear more about that at some point. And then there's there's just so many. I'm not sure exactly how many they're all airing together, but we've been filming nonstop and we have so many cool episodes coming up for you guys. Stuff I'm really excited about. excited for me just to see. I want to see these. As a I lived it, and I remember when I started seeing the episodes, I'm like, oh man, that one, I remember that now. Because that's the thing, we go out and we film, and it's so quick. We're only home for a week, so you get home, you do your laundry, you pay your bills, you kind of spend a little time with the family, and then all of a sudden you're back out. Like there's not a lot of time to process, these experiences that we have, and a lot of these investigations lately have actually been really intense, really personal, really powerful for all of us. We're all, we've been affected on and off camera. So it's just, this batch is something I think special that I hold, a little closer and more personal than some past episodes.
You may be, and it's actually refreshing to actually talk to a paranormal researcher on the West Coast, because a lot of these places you're talking about are places I've been often. So the thing is that we know the East Coast has a lot of history based on the colonial days and the things that happened there. And I tell East Coast paranormal researchers, like, the history is kind of just as rich here as with the gold rush, the all the miners that had passed away out here, and there's a lot of places. So out there in Vegas, I actually took this route from Reno to Vegas. If you've ever done that. Wide open, and you're riding through all these ghost towns. And
Tonopah, Goldfield.
Yeah. Have you been that way, and have you had any experiences out that way?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Actually, I think the first episode that I was just working on as the sound guy, they flew me out to Vegas, and we drove out there, and we did an episode at the Goldfield Hotel, which was wild. It was such a cool place. It was the first, I didn't get to investigate because I was just, being the sound guy at that point. But I remember that, just the power of that place. And then years later, we got to go back again. And I actually witnessed on camera a rock lift off the ground and go flying by itself all the way down the hallway, and ended up hitting Zach right in the leg. And it was just, to see it happen in real time too. Like, it was just, to this day, honestly, it's still something that I'm like, man, that's a go-to of, like, I wish I could explain it. I wish I knew how that happened, because that's something that just, it blows my mind. I can't figure that one out. Such a cool, and in Tonopah, we've been a bunch through there, the Clown Motel, the Mizpah Hotel. We've investigated that a couple times. There's something, like, you're right about the West Coast and these old Wild West towns, these old mining towns. There's a energy there that is just nothing like it. I'm from the East Coast originally. I was born and raised out there. And I love it. And, there is a lot of history there too, but it's a different kind of history. And a lot of people ask us, like, oh, why are you guys always doing West Coast stuff? Why don't you come back East? And a lot of it is, honestly, well, we do live out here, so naturally we tend to do more around our home, but there's no shortage. Every time we go, we love these mining towns. I think the four of us on the show, like, we're drawn to these more specifically for some reason, and they never disappoint. We have some of the most amazing experiences and document some of the craziest paranormal activity in these places. So why not? That's why we stick there and keep going.
And I try to tell people, see, we as human beings, we want to get places quickly. So we hop on planes and we go right over the good stuff. And I would rather, and I often do, hop in a car and I'll GPS, and then I'll purposely take the off route, because it's just going to route me back to where I need to go anyway. So I find myself at a lot of those places that you're talking about. I wish I had, like, the equipment to investigate, but I don't think people understand when we say, like, mining towns, some of these are complete, like, structures still standing, just no one there.
Yeah, they're like time capsules, basically.
Yes. And so I know that the experience there, you're almost guaranteed to have something. Have you gone somewhere and nothing happened? It was just like, so you figured something should happen here? Because one thing I always say is that, I don't think there's anywhere you could step on Earth that someone hasn't lived and passed away at some point. So you should have energy everywhere. So have you walked in somewhere where you knew energy should be present, but nothing happened?
Yeah, there was one case. I think we do pretty well. I don't know if it's just how we work or our energies combined kind of, help us be able to document and experience these things. But there was a case that we did in Seattle, Washington, of a home, And the homeowner reached out and was making these claims that were something out of a movie, like 666 would appear on the walls and their posters would catch on fire out of the blue. And, you know, the guy was saying he would wake up in the morning, his pants were nailed to the wall, you know, kind of like really outrageous claims. So of course we're naturally drawn to it. And we're like, this sounds perfect. Let's go out there. We want to check it out. So we went out there, we investigated, and we filmed a whole show. And honestly, absolutely nothing happened while we were there. It was creepy at times. We still investigated, we still went through, and we still showed the episode. It still ended up airing, but just nothing happened. And we didn't say that it wasn't haunted. I think the homeowner kind of got annoyed at us that we didn't find things. And I know there was, I don't get into it. I ignore all that stuff, like trash talking and internet stuff. But like, I heard he wasn't happy, and I'm sorry to hear that. But like, we left it at, when we were there, nothing happened. We're not saying it's not haunted, but when we were there, in our experience, we didn't catch anything.
So what is, in order to, when you walk into an investigation, you guys all take on an investigation, what are some of the prerequisites that must be in place before you actually take it on?
We're kind of open to a lot of things. We tend to like bigger locations. We want to have room. We want to have space to work and be able to move around. But a lot of it's also the history. We like rich history. We like it to have its own natural story. We're like, besides being paranormal investigators, we're also storytellers. We love telling the history of these locations and interviewing people and hearing their stories. That's a big part of it. And in part of our investigation is learning this stuff and knowing what to look for and what happened there. It helps us guide our investigation. So that's a big part of it, the history, and just kind of the story. Is it something that, we want to figure out? We want to, is there a mystery to it? We love a good mystery. Like if there's some, something strange happening or unknown, like why all of a sudden is there paranormal activity at this location? We love that we can go in, we can research the history, try to figure out why. We did an entire series called Ghost Adventures House Calls, that, we focused just on people's homes and actually trying to help them. And I think that was really unique and fun because everyone was unique. And it was like we were basically investigating these people and trying to help them and actually give them answers to why their home was haunted. So it's always different, which is another reason why I love being able to do what we do, is that every place we go, we can approach it differently. We can approach it the same. We can basically come up with any idea we want to do with it, and we go with it and we try it. And, things that work, we keep doing. Things that don't work, we stop, maybe try again later. We're always evolving, always trying new equipment, new approaches. So it really frees us up to be able to truly explore all this.
What are some of, you have some individuals that have played with Ouija boards and they themselves just want to go out and try to, capture proof of not extraterrestrial, but paranormal activity. What would be some of the bare and basic things that you would recommend those people take out into the field?
It could be simple as, a camera, just snapping photos and looking at them and really looking at them, trying to figure out if there's anything that's not supposed to be there. We end up using a lot of different types of cameras, like Polaroids, digital cameras. We have cameras that just see in the UV light spectrum and the infrared light spectrum to be able to capture more things that our eyes can't actually see, which I know not everybody has access to those, but even just, iPhone pictures. You have a camera on your phone now. Everyone has a phone in their pocket. Everyone has a recorder in their pocket now. You can use that. You can record. You can ask questions. But really, I think above any kind of evidence, it's your own intention. It's your own energy, going into these places with a level of respect and open-mindedness. If you're going in just being like, all right, nothing's going to happen, probably nothing's going to happen. But if you want to it and you kind of approach it in that manner with an open mind, just go out and record your audio, record, your voice memo, I think, app on your phone that everyone can have now, and just start talking. Just talk to the spirits as if they're right there and just start asking questions. Play it back, see if you capture anything. You might not at first, it might take a long time, but when you finally get that response or you get that EVP voice, it definitely can change you. And then you get this rush. I always tell people, like, I can never go skydiving. Like, I just can't do it. Like, that's not something I could do. But I understand it. I understand the rush, the adrenaline, but that's what I get from investigating the paranormal.
Yeah, and I can understand that. And looking at one of the places that I did travel to out there in the state of Nevada, was Virginia City, where we had our fan party last year. We went on a ghost hunt there in Virginia City, and there were weird things that were happening. The cops that patrol that city, I stopped and interviewed them impromptu, and I asked one of the cops, two of them. I asked one of the cops, was like, "Hey," well, I asked them both. Said, "Hey, do you guys? I know you're out here patrolling late at night. Like, do you guys ever have times where you run across something strange or anything weird?" The first cop was like, "No, we don't see anything." The second cop was like, "No, you know what? Actually, when you're out here, you definitely hear things that make you wonder." And I'm like, those would be the perfect people to give testimony on activities that happen in a little town like that.
Mm-hmm.
But you have and another thing, there was I guess maybe potentially an attachment that followed one of the people home in our group, Science Bob and Lala. They went back home and had weird things that were happening on the East Coast. And you have a collection of things you stated in your home.
Mm-hmm.
Do these things carry that sort of energy, and have you had like hitchhikers or things like that come into your home?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we all have on the show. I think we've all had encounters. We've all had possibly attachments, things that have messed with our lives, kind of been a roller coaster up and down through our whole career. I think, thankfully, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but I think we've gotten better at being able to ground ourselves, cleanse ourselves, try to leave work at work, if you will, and kind of, I try to, if I ever feel something's on me now, I do things like I spend time in nature, I play music, spend time with my family, just try to find things that, just you love to do and just engulf in that, and honestly stop paying attention to it. It's easier said than done, but the more you feed into it, the more it's going to stir up and become more active and more powerful. So I try to just ignore it, and I try to just do everything positive, cleansing myself with Palo Santo. I do have one room in my house where I keep things, but in my mind, it's kind of like, all right, that's your space. Like, I'll give that to you guys. You guys can hang out there, but the rest of the house, I have crystals, I have Buddhas. It's very kind of a Zen-based kind of, cleansing kind of vibe, and that's what works for me. But things have come home with us. We've all been affected throughout our lives, and I think that's the thing. A lot of people look at it and they're like, oh, it's a TV show, but it's not. Like, this actually is our lives. This is what we do. It affects us on and off camera. We've been doing it for so long. We're so, arguably almost oversaturated with this, energy in our experiences. But at the same time, it's like I mentioned, that rush, that, that desire to learn the unknown and to kind of figure it all out. So we love it. We want to keep doing it. And we just kind of try to get better at being able to stop things from following us home.
Yeah, awesome, and very hard to do, maybe, I guess. I'm going to get into, I'll want to show you after the break the shadow person that I captured, and then ask you about shadow people as well. So for everybody else, we are heading into our top of the hour break right here with our guest Jay Wasley. So I do have some of your questions, actually. May, you got a lot of them in here. I'll try to get to as many of yours as possible, because we have a bunch of other ones as well. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and take this break at the top of the hour, guys. Just make sure you come right back. Like I said, go get your popcorn. You can do what you need to do, but just make sure you're right here right after the break finishes. We'll be right back. Spaced Out Radio, the After Hours radio show with me, your host, Mr. Rob G, and our guest, Jay Wasley. Will be back right after this.
Conversations that move the needle.
Conversations that move the needle.
You're listening to After Hours with Mr. Rob G on the only place where you can own the night. Spaced Out Radio.
Spaced Out Radio.
You've tuned your dial to the right frequency.
All right, and we are off camera for the next 5 minutes. Jay, see you in a bit.
Cool. Thanks.
All right. All right. Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio, the After Hours radio show with me, your host, Mr. Rob G. We have about 30 seconds before we come back from radio here as well. And I want to let you know that this is the hour for questions. So make sure you're posing them, put them in the caps. I have a lot of them added up so far. So after the next break, we'll begin jumping into those questions, guys. We have about 15 seconds. Let me bring our guest back in with us here. Jay, all right. And we got about 5 seconds here. Here we go. Okay. We had a system crash, so we'll take a couple extra seconds here. Let this boot back up. All right, everybody, welcome back to Spaced Out Radio, the After Hours radio show, After Hour number 2 with me, your host, Mr. Rob G. Coming back with our guest, Jay Wasley, producer, star of the Ghost Adventures, one of the stars. We're going to talk about that and more in this hour, get to your questions as well, right here, Spaced Out Radio, After Hours radio show, as we jump right back into the conversation here. So, getting into this here, Jay. So you have, I believe the gentlemen that you work with are Zach, Aaron, and Billy. Is that correct?
Yep, correct. That's the team.
Okay. How is the chemistry? And if you could pick maybe one embarrassing moment, maybe that one of them have had on set, right, that would be pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's like hanging out and filming with brothers. We're family. There's times where we're on the road and by the end we're like, oh man, I just want to go home. It's been intense and we're done. But then we get home, we start texting. We have a group text. We're always cracking jokes and sharing information and stories and hearing things. And then we get to the point where we're like, all right, we're ready to get back out there. Let's get back out there. We love it. We're there for each other. We kind of mentioned back in hour 1 how these things do affect us when we come home, and we're all there for each other. I don't put what we do anything near to anything like what these people I'm about to say do, but I've talked to friends that have been at war or out in the military, and how there's that bond. You go through these intense moments together, and I think we've been through so much together over the last decade and a half, even more a little bit, that has brought us together, and we're always there for each other. As far as that, there's the typical brother stuff. We pick on each other. We love playing jokes with each other, and we're a bunch of dudes, sometimes in a car for hours. There's a lot of farts. There's a lot of, a lot of just inside jokes that, but I think we need that sometimes. We deal with a lot of, darker, tragic events and intense energies, that sometimes having that, kind of brotherhood of joking and messing with each other kind of helps lift that negative energy from us.
I would fit in good with that group, man, because you just said it. You said a bunch of dudes. I mean, that's all you need to say, a bunch of dudes. And you already know what happens in the presence of a bunch of dudes. Anything goes. It's fair game.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that is actually pretty cool. So, have there been any times where you felt like, okay, this experience was too much? I don't know if I can continue doing this. Have you ran into anything like that?
Yeah, there's been times where, it's thankfully it's short-lived. I've had experiences that have personally messed with my life, that, a lot of people ask me I think, there's even a question we can jump to it, honestly, because it's to do with this, but we did a case called Goatman's Bridge, which was a very personal investigation to myself and the rest of the team, honestly. It was this place outside of Denton, Texas, where it was an old bridge that, people were in the town were claiming was haunted, has a lot of, darker history to it, but it seemed to affect women more. And while we were filming there, my my ex-wife, she was my wife at the time. She was our photographer who would take pictures of us behind the scenes, and we saw her back there behind the scenes actually being affected. Like she was getting very negative and very aggressive, which wasn't like her at all. So of course we, being a small group family, we were like, "Are you okay? What's going on?" And she was getting feelings that she wanted to hurt us, and just not her. She didn't look herself. So then we brought her into the investigation. She actually faced it. She went out into the woods by herself and confronted this energy, but it affected her so strongly that she ended up quitting the show after that. We said, like, you can take some time off, you can come back if you want. But ultimately, she kind of went into a dark place for a long time, and we separated, and she did what she had to do. And I think, from what I've heard and seen through social media and things, that she's better and gotten better, thankfully. But it was a dark time, and it's tough to see that, but having, the family there, it helped. I wish there was times maybe we could all try to help more, but we're still learning. We're still trying to figure it out. And when these things happen to you, sometimes you don't know what to do. It's a very tough thing when it hits you at home.
What would you say percentage wise, as far as the type of energies that you come across? Would you say they seem to be more parasitic, negative, sort of malevolent, energies, or just, simply people who are lost maybe and have passed on and are lost and can't find their way to whatever that is on the other side?
Yeah, I think we tend to encounter more negative. I think that has a lot to do with the locations we pick. Sometimes the more interesting stories are the tragic ones, unfortunately. So we tend to dive into those cases a little more. So we deal with a lot more, but we also have a lot of beautiful cases. I remember there was a case in Texas, this beautiful big mansion home, and we were investigating. We were using a device called the Spirit Box, which scans different frequencies, and you can have responses coming through the frequencies. And we were with the woman who owns the house, and we were investigating, and I forget the word right now, but some random, very specific word came through the Spirit Box, and we didn't think anything of it. We were just like, that means nothing. We look over, she's full crying. She's sobbing away. And we're like, what happened? What, are you okay? And she's like, that word, that was her mom and her code word that they agreed that with whoever passed away first, they would use that code word to let them know that they were there. And we got that word. And like I said, it was nothing to us, but when we found that out, like, we were all in tears. We could feel that energy. And it was such a beautiful, positive moment, which was a beautiful change from kind of dealing with more of the darker stuff.
Wow. Yeah, that's true. Man, I couldn't imagine. Do you work with mediums, or do you have someone who specializes in that on the team, or do you just like freelance with the medium sometimes?
Yeah, we don't have anyone dedicated that's on the team. I don't think any of us are actually mediums or psychics. I think we've been doing it long enough where we're in tune with our own bodies, that we can kind of pick up on energies. We can feel when there's something around here. We don't claim to be psychics or anything, but like, you can feel it. And I think doing as long as we have, we've kind of learned to hear ourselves. We do work with psychics at times. Mediums will bring them in special case. We tend to, it's interesting. We like sometimes using new ones we haven't, because it's always interesting to see what different people's energy brings to the investigation and kind of seeing what they pick up. We do have some regulars that we bring back at times that, actually impress us and really do, I think, to me personally, I tend to be more skeptic on them, honestly. I believe in them. I think, they do exist and they're out there, but for me, that's one thing where I'm like, all right, I want you to, show me it's not an act, and really just prove it. And we have regulars that we've used that actually prove it to us, and, say things that there's no way they know. And, things happen that they knew was going to happen, or some really, really powerful stuff.
You earlier talked about, in some of these cases being physically affected, like scratched or things like that.
Okay.
So that would be one of the questions that I had, was like, are they able to affect you in the physical? And I guess the answer is yes. But can you talk about a time where you may have been scratched, or, had something bad happen to you?
Yeah. I've been scratched a few times, different locations, which is such a messes with your head kind of feeling, because you didn't hit anything, you didn't bump anything, and you just start, it kind of appears as a burning sensation at first. I remember there was a case we did, the Sally house, I believe it's in Kansas, I believe, or Oklahoma. It's somewhere out in the Midwest, and it was honestly famously known for people getting scratched there. And I was shooting a camera at the time, and all of a sudden I felt burning on my arm, and I rolled up my sleeve and you could see a scratch. And what was actually cool is that the scratch was appearing there, and like we put a camera on it and you can actually see it get darker and bigger on camera, which, even approaching things as skeptic, it was like, did I bump something? And it was like, no, this is appearing fresh on me as we were watching it happen, which was pretty wild. But probably honestly, the craziest thing physically that's ever happened to me was in Prescott, Arizona. We were in an old saloon, and down in the basement, all the workers at the saloon felt there was an evil entity that lived in this crawl space. And there was kind of just a hole in the wall that went underneath the old saloon. And, they were like, Zach was like, Jay, you go in there. It's your job in the investigation. You go in there, you investigate in that crawl space. And I'm a big guy. I'm over 6 foot tall, and I'm crawling on my belly, and it's only about, this big. So I'm on my belly. I have one camera. I shoot ahead, I shoot back on me, and I'm crawling through, and nothing's really happening. So I start intimidating a little bit. I start calling out the spirit. I start challenging the spirit to be like, hey, you're supposedly this big bad spirit that's tormenting these people, that are upsetting these people. Why don't you do something? Show yourself somehow. And I feel something grab my leg, the back of my leg, around my ankle, and I'm holding the camera in front of me, pointing back at me, and I'm on my belly. So I can see on the screen there's nothing behind me, but I feel something grabbing me, and it actually pulls me backwards. I drop the camera and I get dragged backwards away from the camera a good 3 or 4 feet. And you see this on camera, and you see there's nothing behind me. I lose myself. I'm going crazy. This is just, I have no idea, trying to understand what just happened. In a crawl space. So I'm kicking and flailing as much as I can. Dust is flying everywhere. I'm yelling, and there's nothing there. And I eventually make my way back to the entrance. I crawl out. And another thing on top of it, a lot of people don't think about, is you have an experience like that, and the first thing is Aaron's right there with a camera in my face being like, all right, what just happened? And I'm like, I just got to breathe. Like, like it's hard to now, I have to like articulate and kind of explain what just happened, but I'm still in shock and processing that this just even occurred. And then watching the footage back and seeing that you can clearly see nothing there, and you see me get dragged backwards, is hands down the most, physical experience I've ever had.
Why do you think some energies, spirits are locked to a specific place? I know some people talk about residual energies that might be present. How do you look at that, and what is your explanation for that?
Yeah, so I break down hauntings into 2 categories. There is the residual haunting, which is kind of like basically like a record player on loop. It's just like almost like an energy. Like, say you walk up and down the hallway in your house every single day of your life. You pass away, it makes sense to me that there's a bit of your energy that still kind of lingers in that hallway and kind of moves back and forth. And then under the right variables, the right equipment, the right people coming together, you can actually document pieces of that energy. Another thing, a Japanese scientist actually proved that positive and negative energy affects water on a molecular level. There's a whole series of experiments. I recommend anyone that doesn't know to Google it. It honestly can change the way you look at life. But long story short, they took water and they projected positive energy to it. It formed beautiful crystals. They projected negative energy. It formed disfigured, ugly crystals. And then they swapped. And then they would share love to the one that was ugly and share, hate to the one that was pretty. And then it would respond. And every time they would do this, it showed that positive and negative energy actually changes water on a molecular level. And if the human body is 70, 80% water, what does that do to us? What does just positive and negative energy do to us? So then that plays into, there's a whole thing called the stone tape theory, which is organic surfaces like wood, stone, things that, basically we're surrounded by all the time in our homes and walls and things that, there's a massacre, a family's massacred, or something horrific happens in a space, that negative energy is actually stored in the walls. there's a memory on the molecular level that has that energy still to it. And you walk into those places and you're just like, you feel it. You can just know that, like, wow, something bad happened here. Even if it's renovated, even if it's cleaned up, like, you could still kind of feel that something's not right there. And to me, that makes sense. That cures, that pleases my skeptic, my scientific side of my mind, where I'm like, okay, that makes sense to me. That I understand that. But then we have the other type of haunting, which is intelligent hauntings. And that's when we're actually investigating, we're asking questions, and we get direct responses from the spirits, either through spirit boxes, through EVPs, even visual evidence through like an XLS camera, which we use. It's an infrared laser grid that maps a room, and we'll have figures appear, and we'll actually talk to him, be like, hi, we'll wave, and he'll wave back to us. And so it's showing that these spirits are actually aware of us and interacting with us. And that's the one that still is what blows my mind every time I experience a haunting like that. Because that I can't explain. That gets into all kinds of theories, all kinds of things. Is it alternate realities? Is it like weird slips in time? Is time overlaying? We can go on and on about quantum physics and all kinds of theories about what makes our reality and stuff. And that's where my brain goes with all that stuff, just trying to figure that out. And that's absolutely some of my favorite hauntings. My favorite pieces of evidence that we get is that intelligent haunting.
So what do you think that is? Because the residual haunting almost sounds like screen burn-in on an OLED screen or something like that, or even like a paranormal GIF or something like that. It is GIF, not GIF, people. It's not GIF. Don't say GIF. I hate when people say GIF. But the intelligent haunting, okay, so there's awareness. So in your eyes, being the researcher, and I ask this to all the researchers, how would you describe where these energies exist? Are they existing in our reality, or are they existing in this other realm? And it's like we're like a thin veil that we're able to peek through occasionally. Like, what would be your explanation for this?
Yeah, I tend to go in, and this is a thing that we're still studying and still trying to figure out. I think what's my leading go-to theory right now that I tend to go with is I like the idea of that time is overlap. Like, there's no time. When you think of time, it was like a human construct that was made, to help organize our lives and split up the day so we can plan things and do things. But when you think of time as existence and reality, there's like beliefs that everything that has happened, is happening, and will happening is all happening at the same time. And that for some reason, which we don't know, certain locations, certain places, there's like almost a breakdown in time, the time space, and you're actually able to witness these other time periods that we would call in the past, but it's still actually happening right here. But our perspective, our reality, our consciousness is giving us this time period, if you will. We did a case, we investigated the original Conjuring house that inspired the movies. And we were interviewing one of the daughters who lived in the house when her mom was being affected by the spirits there. And, her mom lost her mind and was going crazy with these, encountering these spirits. And she told us that what kind of saved her mom was eventually she realized what she was seeing isn't something that's trying to hurt her. It wasn't like a spirit out to get her. She was actually able to peer into a past family that's living in the house. And in their world, in the spirit world, they're still there. They're still living their life, doing their thing. But for some reason, she was able to see that and able to pick it up. And of course, at first you lose your mind, you go crazy. You're like, they're ghosts. But she believed and felt that she was actually just, kind of being able to see their time period. And it gave her peace. It gave her comfort. And she was able to kind of live with that. That's kind of what I go with. I like the idea of, the overlapping of time.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense. What you just said. I've talked about, and this kind of gets into the other part of the phenomenon, which is astral travel, and being in places that you don't recognize, and it's fully fleshed out. And I used to wonder, or I still wonder, actually, is when you see a shadow person, are you seeing something that is paranormal and is passed on, or are you seeing, like you described, someone that's peering into this different time, and that's all we're able to make of that energy?
Right. Yeah, I think it's sometimes, there's the idea of, we talk about spirits manifesting. And, I think a lot of people, when they see a spirit, when they see a ghost, it's usually like a partial thing. It's rare that you'll see a full on person. It's usually like part of a leg and an arm or a bit of a head or an outline, like a shadow or something like that. And I think a lot of that is like, it takes a lot of energy to be able to, if you think of, I mean, this can get as deep as we want to go, but like if you think of our reality and the amount of energy that it takes for our brains to process all this data that's coming into us to make this world that makes sense to us, just imagine the amount of energy it would take for a spirit to fully manifest. So that's why you get these partial appearing things and you catch these shadows. So I don't know if it's like, an idea of portals and there's spaces where these spirits can come through, or there are these overlays and gaps in time that you can peer through and you could see elements and pieces, but the amount of energy to fully, it's not like you look through and it looks like a movie, you're seeing bits and pieces of it. So I think it's kind of like that. I think that's kind of why, it's just such a massive processing of data to be able our brains to handle.
Man, do you think that where do you think this energy eventually goes? Or do you think it's locked to Earth for eternity, essentially?
Right. I don't know. I don't, I have ideas where I like I've looked into ideas of reincarnation, things like that. There's some interesting beliefs that I found that kind of oddly overlaid where, like reincarnation and like Buddhist belief, like 49 days after death it takes, and then you're reincarnated. But then there's elements that doesn't make sense because sometimes we interact with spirits that are much older than that. So like, it's hard to pinpoint one specific thing. But I don't know if it's like, like there's the whole idea of when we die, we wake up, like that's almost, honestly, to me, one of the most pleasing theories personally. Like, you kind of don't even realize you felt like what your life was a dream, which, I'm sure a lot of people have experienced that in their life now, where you wake up from a dream that seems so real and you're just like, oh, wow. All right, that was just a dream. Maybe it's like that. Maybe it is like you pass away and that existence, that reality that you're experiencing is done, but now you experience a new reality. And whatever that is, there's only one way to find out for sure.
And what would be one question that you would love to have answered from that other side? To kind of just one question.
I think the one question I would love to know is kind of what's the process like, if that makes sense. I mean, I guess it would be a multi-stepped answer, but I would kind of like to know their experience. Do they see us? Like, how are they seeing us? Do they think we're ghosts? I love these kind of questions. Like, what's their experience like from wherever they are, what they're going through and how they got there? Like, is it you're aware of your death and you go through the tunnel of light kind of thing, and all of a sudden you're spit back out and you're roaming the earth as a spirit, or you're in some other dimension or other reality? I would love to be able to pick their brain about what their personal experience is like on the other side.
And it's awesome that that's your answer, because in any of these fields, and I think they're all connected, truthfully, paranormal, UFO world, cryptid world, in some way, we just don't know, but I know there's a connection there. And the people that are out there doing the research, it's always great when you have a goal, when you have a goal in mind, you have answers to questions that you want. When you see some people just doing it for no real purpose, not really to further the research and investigation, that's where I'm like, so it's always great to hear someone have an answer like that, because I think everyone should look at it like that. And we'll be right back after this break here with Jay Wasley. It's actually the last break. Crazy. Time flies so fast. We will be right back right after this break with viewer and audience questions. There are a lot. There are a lot, and we'll try to get through all of them right after the break. See you in just a minute. All right, we are clear, and we're still live on YouTube. Everyone can see and hear us. If you have anything that you need to do real quick, you can go ahead and do that. I can take you off screen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm good to hang out, honestly. Feeling all right.
Good. Glad that that's the case.
Oh,
We had
yeah.
a few other people sneak in here during the show here, so I have to call them out here. Fast Timmy, I don't know if I said hi earlier, but hey, thanks for coming in. Big Bird, I definitely know I didn't say Big Bird, so appreciate you for coming on in and showing up. Same as Plaid Koala, appreciate you. Thanks Janae and Not Silent Robbie G. Thanks Jay and okay, Jay and Silent.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Kevin Smith fan, I guess.
Okay, and Shelly Montgomery. Let's see. I got this comeback if you need, but you can't keep coming back or you stuck. Yeah. You can walk away. It's commercial break. Do what you got to do. Just make sure you come back. That's all I'm asking. That's it. Let's see. Hypersonic. I don't think I said your name before. The entities, aliens are capable of controlling people, influencing them. Not sure how they do it, but the smaller one was holding something, the device maybe. Yeah. Stories.
Yeah, I felt that. I felt some of the stuff we encounter sometimes might be aliens at times.
And that's kind of what I want to ask you when we come back. Like, where does that intertwine for you? The phenomena, because you're focused on paranormal, but there are these other things going on, and some people say the things are connected.
Definitely, we've had a lot of crossover for sure.
Okay, cool. We have about 3 minutes left, and let's see. Yeah, and who was that earlier? I think I tagged their name here. The person that was talking about coming on as a guest. So you sent more information. You said you went through Dirty Filth. So I know then what you're talking about is Dirty Filth did reach out to me and asked me if I wanted to have someone on the show. So that was you. So I'll get your information through Filth and I will send you an email as well. All right. And so what you got planned for the 16th? You sit at home with the family, get your popcorn ready. Would you anything planned for the premiere?
We'll be out filming another episode actually.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, we're gonna head out tomorrow. So I'll meet up with all the guys tomorrow out location and we'll film and we'll probably watch the episode together. We tend to we try to live tweet sometimes and kind of do like a live social media presence when we watch an episode, especially if we're all together, being able to do it. So it'd be fun. Looking forward to doing it.
So you guys are actually still in this season filming still?
Yeah, we don't stop. We film every other week, all year round, nonstop.
Okay. Yeah, because some shows film the whole season and then premiere the episode. So
Exactly. Yeah, that's what I used to always work with. Like you film a show and you work 3 months, 4 months, maybe do a whole season batch of shows, and then you're off the rest of the year. But we go every other week, nonstop.
Have you since we'll talk a little bit about aliens, have you watched the show called, and you're a cinematographer, the show called Resident Alien?
Oh yeah.
What do you think about the show?
I think it's funny. I forget the dude's name. I think he's a great actor. It's nice. I feel like I haven't seen him in a while and stuff, so it was cool to see him come back. But I think it's really cool. It's a cool, kind of plays what I was talking about, like learning, like getting the idea of what their experience is like, what it's like for them, which kind of plays off of that, obviously in a comedic way. But I think it's fun. It's really cool to see.
And they're so accurate on the things they talk about. That's the thing I key in on. I'm like, I tell my girls I'm watching with her, I'm like, that's true. Like, that's real. That's a real thing. People do report what they're talking about, even though they're making jokes about it. They're true to the reported content that they covered. So I think that's awesome.
Absolutely. I'm a big Alien fan for sure. Always have been. And every time we encounter stuff that kind of crosses over into that realm, I'm a big fan of it. We got to interview Travis Walton once. That was amazing. We investigated a guy in Arizona that claimed he killed 20 something gray aliens with a samurai sword. They were coming in his house, and it was wild, amazing stuff.
I've heard stories like that. I don't know how far I go with those though, but
Right. I mean, it's hard to believe, but we documented some cool evidence when we were in that house. Honestly, I did a whole frequency experiment, and I saw like what you would call shadow figures, but they were like shorter, kind of typical gray alien kind of looking figures, which was really cool to see.
makes you think that part makes you, and that's kind of the dilemma I'm in right now. Because I had somebody, and I'm going to show you as well, my shadow person, but I'm going to wait till I get your response before I say anything. Because I've showed it to other paranormal people, and they've said certain things about it. So as we come back here in about 5 seconds, 4, 3, 2, 1, let's go. All right, everybody, welcome back. Spaced Out Radio, the After Hours radio show. We're back on the back half of the second hour already. That means this is the time to ask your questions. I've gone ahead and started a lot of them here. We'll be asking those to our guest here, Jay Wasley from Discovery Channel's Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventures. Guys, want to make sure that you guys check that out. Got the premiere episode coming for this season on April 16th. Make sure you're tuned in for that. As we go ahead and jump back into the conversation, so over the break, Jay, we were talking about what is your outlook on potentially, since we know we don't know, we think, we assume the phenomenon may be interconnected when you're talking about UFOs, the paranormal realm, then also the realm that these cryptids seem to slip in and out of, and maybe they share the same realm with the paranormal, with the ghosts, the spirits. I don't know. That's one of the things I thought about. Where do you go with that, and what is your outlook on aliens, cryptids, and other things under the phenomena?
Yeah, I think, obviously our main focus is ghosts and, that kind of side of the paranormal, but a lot of locations we go to, we encounter things where I even personally think, this feels more like an alien or some type of cryptid thing. We've done stuff with skinwalkers and shapeshifters. We've documented evidence out by Lake Mead, actually, of a shape-shifting creature that we caught on a thermal camera that, goes from almost like a dog coyote-esque into like this tentacled creature thing, which was amazing. So how they all connect, I don't know. I think a lot of these cryptids, you think of Bigfoot, things like that might be some kind of interdimensional creature. It's not just, a natural creature that just strictly lives on Earth, and you think of, everything. And you go back in history and you study all different cultures, there's always been these creatures, from fairies, leprechauns, all these type of things. There's always something, in every culture that, tells the story of these creatures. And I think they're elusive and they're hard to catch because they do have some kind of interdimensional, whatever, that means exactly. But that's why they're hard to catch. They're in and out, maybe they're in and out of even our own consciousness and what makes our reality. We've done a lot of investigations where I feel I have encountered aliens. We did a home in Arizona where the man was claiming he killed 20 something gray aliens with a samurai sword. And at first it was like, okay, sure, that's, it's a pretty wild claim to have, honestly. And, and we didn't want to just be like, believe it. We wanted to document it. So when we did the investigation, I'm in his house and I was using infrasound, and I was doing a frequency with different waves. And basically the idea that I have, that I've done a few times now, which always elicits amazing responses, is basically everything has a frequency. And if you think of the idea of resonance theory, which is like the opera singer that hits a note and the glass breaks, the glass breaks because that opera singer is hitting the same frequency that the glass is actually vibrating at, and it shakes itself apart and it breaks. So my theory is, okay, what if I can try different infrasound, different frequency waves, blast them into an area where supposedly there's portals, there's things coming through, and maybe I can resonate the portal, resonate the opening, and give it strength and basically open it up even more and allow these, these creatures, these, whatever they are, spirits, demons, aliens, whatever they are, allow them to come through. And we did this in this house where this guy claimed that. And I remember once I did that, we film in complete darkness. We use infrared cameras, but there was some ambient light coming through the windows. And I remember seeing what looked like the typical gray alien kind of shadowy figures that had gray tones, like walking in the distance in the home. It was kind of a big open concept house. And I remember seeing this and I was just frozen, not so much in fear, but just frozen in shock and awe that like, wow, like this is actually working. This is happening. These frequencies are opening something up and allowing them to come through, which really stuck with me. And then it made me be like, wow, maybe this guy really is experiencing this, having this alien phenomena.
And when you look at it, what I sit and think about stuff a lot, man, I'll tell you. So I've thought about even, this realm, I will just call it a realm where these spirits exist, and potentially the same realm, maybe where cryptids are going to. And I'm thinking about it. I'm like, okay, well, what is actual physical life for human beings then? Is that like a pupa stage, and then we turn into a butterfly afterwards once we pass?
Right.
And excuse me, one of the things that I thought about was, okay, are we like in a kindergarten class where we don't get to go to the big yard yet, but once we get to the big yard, then we get to mingle with everybody? And that ends up being energy, spirits, cryptids, all these other things that are existing in this
Right.
other place. Have you thought about that?
Oh, absolutely. Like the idea of like, the collective conscious of humans on our planet being able to evolve together to a higher dimension or a higher frequency. You hear those terms thrown out a lot that, even there's people now that are, I'm not so far to go, end of the world, crazy, apocalyptic, but there are people like there's a frequency shift coming and things like that. But I think that could be that natural progression that as humans, as a species, we can evolve. And if we can evolve together, which it's tough to get everyone on the same page. But I think if we can all, in an ideal world, if we can all work together and be peaceful and choose love over hate and over war and things like that, that we can actually work together and we can evolve consciously and we can shift our energy and actually be able to, experience these things on a greater level and almost to a point where it's like, oh, this is just the world now. It's not even paranormal anymore. It's normal.
Awesome stuff there, Jay. Let me ask the first question here. Lavera Lucchini gave a couple of awesome super chats. I'll ask the first question she posed. Says, is Zach's museum artifacts haunted in your opinion? Which one freaks you out the most? Thank you for the years you have investigated this topic.
In my opinion, I would say they absolutely are haunted. It's not even necessarily even an opinion, honestly. It's documented. We've documented more than enough evidence. We've investigated there a few times. We did a live special where we were actually live on TV for, I think we did 4 or 5 hours where we were live investigating the museum. During when COVID hit, we were first shut down and we had, we were all nervous. We were like, what are we going to do for work? How long is this going to be? No one knew. So we actually went to the network and said, hey, what if just the 4 of us live in campers in the parking lot of the museum and we investigate the museum? And we ended up, they said, absolutely do it. So we were able to, during COVID, we basically lived at the museum in campers and we investigated every single night. We turned it into a whole mini series called Ghost Adventures Quarantined. And it was absolutely haunted. And I think beyond just being haunted, it's just such a great place for research. It's like a constant evolving experiment in the paranormal, which 100% love. When it comes to a certain object that freaks me out, they all can kind of freak me out in different ways, but at the same time, I love them all. Like even the dark, scary ones, like I've had experiences with stuff, I mentioned earlier, you heard that we have the demon house steps from the basement in the dirt. And, that place is one of the most darkest, terrifying places I've ever been. And the idea that it's in the museum partially terrifies me, but I also love it. That explorer, that part of me that wants to learn more and figure it out. Like, I just love that it's all there and that we have access to it and get to investigate it.
Awesome stuff there. Let me see Lavera's second question here I want to bring up is, Jay, what are your thoughts on the new quantum physics discovery of teleportation that we are just beginning to learn? Can ghosts teleport?
I don't know. I don't know if all ghosts can teleport. It does seem that they have some kind of ability to move. Like the idea of a spirit following somebody home. Um, whether that's teleportation by definition, I don't know. But there is stuff that shows that ghosts can move from a location to another location. So how they actually do it and things like that, I'm not sure. But that's part of what I love trying to study as well is quantum physics and new beliefs and new theories, new discoveries to kind of try to help refine and put these ideas and get the answers we're looking for.
Great answer. And let's see, hopping into the other questions we have. Let's see, May, who is asking, Jay, did you and the team ever have an intense attachment, meaning an attachment that you shoo away, but it comes back?
Yeah, I don't know if it was a full attachment, but I definitely felt like I mentioned earlier as well a story about me as a teenager playing the Ouija board and encountering a spirit that was coming out with its name saying ZOZO. And when I was a teenager, I didn't know what that meant. But years later, I was filming the show. And we were doing a special on Ouija boards. It was a home in Oklahoma where this guy felt this demon was coming through, and he became an expert on the topic and researching this phenomena that there's a demon that comes through Ouija boards called Zozo, Z-O-Z-O, which is the name that I got when I was a teenager playing the Ouija board, where my friend almost killed me. And so during the show, at this point, I was kind of still early on the show. I haven't told this story publicly yet, so no one knew about it. I offered I would try the Ouija board on the show with the guy who originally lived at this house. And we're doing the Ouija board and it comes back and it starts saying it's talking to Zozo. And I say, have we ever met before? And it says yes. And then I say, what did you try to do? And it said kill. And I said, how did you try to kill me? And it spelled out stab. And I know that I wasn't moving it. And I know the guy that I was doing it with had no idea this even ever happened. He knew nothing of me. So I felt like that was something for sure that, either I don't necessarily say it would follow me or attach me, but it lingered with me, if that makes sense. And I felt there was different moments in my life where like this energy that I encountered back then and again, and even other times in the future that it would keep coming up. And I felt like it was the same thing. And then ultimately I kind of did a ritual with a witch friend of ours from England who unfortunately has passed away in the last few years. We actually did a ritual at the museum and it helped me shake off that energy. And honestly, since then, it's been wonderful.
All right, great. And Flubber Lane, I just want you to know that you basically asked the same question that he answered, but I did see your question as well. So Julie Farrell is up next. Do you catch any criticism on what some might say an antagonistic approach to ghost hunting?
I mean, I don't try not to play into that. I appreciate the fan base and we wouldn't be able to do what we do without you. We have an amazing following, amazing support. But there are people out there that they're keyboard warriors that love to hate and start problems and, like the old internet trolls. And I ignore them, honestly. I'm a very big believer in block and delete and not even pay attention to it. I've seen it though. And we tend to be more antagonist, but I would say we don't do that in good scenarios. Like if we're investigating a place that's like children's spirits or families or things like that, we're not going to go approach it as aggressively as we would if it's something that's hurting people or tormenting people. In a sense, we kind of take the role of we're going to stand up against these bullies. Especially when we were doing house calls and even in the regular show, we meet people that are afraid to live in their own home, that feel they're being tormented by spirits. I'm not going to go in there and be like, hey, please, everybody, can you talk to us? Like you go in there and you're like, no, like we're going to stand up to you. And, and I get that can come across sometimes intense, but we are intense. We're passionate about what we do. And, we only do that when we feel it's appropriate.
And you should be passionate. That's a great trait. Let me see. Next question is from May asking, will you guys ever discuss Stardust Ranch and how much ET contact did you have?
Yeah, that was the place I was actually just talking about when I was doing the frequency experiment, and where I encountered and at least saw these shadow figures of what I call gray aliens. That was at the Stardust Ranch.
Okay. And make sure we're doing good ones. Okay. NT is asking, what about the house on a hill with the guy that was doing dark rituals?
I mean, if I think the one we're thinking of, like, there's been a few, but there was definitely one. And, sorry if it's not the one you're referring to, but there was one where this guy was doing a ritual, and I actually called because I research a lot for the show. I tend to even research rituals, things like that. If we go to a case where there's a lot of ritual activity, I'm going to study some of these rituals and kind of understand the energy and their intentions and what they're doing. So I tend to be well versed in that field. And we were in this guy wanted to do a ritual with us, and while he's doing it, I start catching things that he was doing wrong, and he would even say things, and I ultimately called him out on it. And that's one thing that rituals can be very dangerous at times. It's a very intention based. It's very what you're trying to manifest, but also almost arguably even more dangerous than just doing a ritual is doing a ritual wrong. And we've encountered this many times, and with that, I called him doing things wrong, and I called him out, and we stopped because we didn't know him. We didn't know what his intentions were, and it kind of freaked us out. We were kind of worried, like, we don't know this guy, and if he's not doing it right, we don't want to be involved with it. So we stopped it short. We've done stuff, and it brings up the idea of, like, we've gone to locations. In the new season, we do a place called the Rispin Mansion, which is an old abandoned mansion, and we go in there and you find remnants of rituals. You find symbolism and things that are spray painted on the walls and in the floor, and that people are going in there doing rituals. And I was there. I was a dumb teenager messing around with a Ouija board and doing things that we didn't know, and it opened up something that was absolutely terrifying. So even if these people are going in there just kind of think it's fun, or they're messing around with friends and they want to play around with rituals, if they don't know what they're really doing, they're opening up and tapping into things that can really mess with their lives.
Isn't that the so some similar? What was that movie called? The 80s movie, Gates of Hell.
Oh, right.
Where the hole opens up in the living room.
Right. Yeah.
Forever. I think they were playing some game that initiated that.
Right. Yeah. That's the thing. A lot of people think it's just, even the Ouija board, it's sold in toy stores, like, once you open this stuff up, you don't really know exactly what's coming through, and it can be dangerous. We've encountered locations, like we did some like haunted house, like attraction, for like Halloween time, they'll do haunted house stuff. And there was like, oh yeah, we have a guy in here that reads out of the Satanic Bible and performs a ritual, but it's totally fake. And we're like, no, like, he's still doing it. You know what I mean? Like, even though, like, he might not believe it and he might not be doing it on purpose, he's still going through the motions and still doing it. Like, that's still creating something there. That's still opening up something and still possibly manifesting something there. So once you get into that realm, it could be really dangerous if you're not knowing what you're doing.
All right. And let me get to Leechum the Spicy Lizard. Have you noticed any patterns with the phenomena or experiences, any synchronicity, I guess, throughout the years of research? Also, what's your opinion on UFOs, cryptids, etc.? Do you think that they could all be connected?
Yeah, I think there is a connection. I think they also could possibly stand alone, honestly. I think, just like there's many different things in our world that we know exist, different types of animals and species, things like that. These can all be things that might exist, but might not be connected. They all tend to have patterns and things like the elusiveness. It's hard. Even UFOs, all this stuff, everyone always kind of, skeptics especially, be like, oh, every time you see a picture, it's always blurred or it's always hard to see. Like, they all seem to be able to move in and out of our reality, out of our world, similar. So there could be a lot of crossover. There could be things that we might think is haunted, but it's actually alien activity, and vice versa. Some people might think they encountered an alien, while they were sleeping and had sleep paralysis, but it could have been some kind of spirit attachment or something like that. So I do think there is a lot of room for crossover, and how they all connect is something we're still trying to figure out.
All right. And our resident ayahuasca DMT guy, hour 3 guy as well, Drew Bakey, wanted to make sure to ask you, have you ever took a medicine man on an investigation? If not, let's do it.
I mean, I would love to. I'm a big, researcher in those philosophies. It's something that cultures and different people all around the world have used to help experience different levels of consciousness and tap into the spiritual realm. There's definitely into it. We actually did an investigation out in a Navajo Nation, or kind of around the Four Corners area. And a medicine woman came to us and said she wanted to do a ritual and kind of do a ritual to bring us as honorary Navajo warriors to kind of help protect us. We were going to a place called Skinwalker Cave to investigate, literally out in the middle of nowhere. So she wanted to do this for us. And while she was doing this ritual, it felt amazing. It felt beautiful. It was an honor. And then all of a sudden I just feel these fingers just get shoved in my mouth, and there was like a wad of herbs, and I was like, that's kind of weird, and just honestly kind of gross that you just shoved your fingers in my mouth, but okay. And then, I looked down the line, and all the other guys got it too. And by the last guy, he was like, he takes it and does it himself. He caught on that she was doing it. And then basically we finished the ritual, and we're like, okay, we have about an hour before we go film to start the investigation. We were waiting for the sun to go down and kind of had some time to kill. And all of a sudden the four of us just start looking at each other and we're like, man, I feel a little weird. We're like, do you feel weird? And we're all like, wait a minute, whoa, hold on. And we realized that what she actually stuck in her mouth was a mild psychedelic that, honestly was kind of messed up, because no one knew that she was doing that or planning to do that, but she did. And we all literally tripped for, probably, I don't even know how long it lasted. It felt longer. It was probably maybe, intense for like a couple hours, maybe at the most. And then we still filmed it. We literally, you see it in the show. We don't hold back. We let you know everything that's happening. And we're like, this is what's happening. And we're just kind of waiting for it to calm down. And we're just literally doing donuts in the middle of the desert, just laughing and, just having a good time. But then we went out and we investigated. And honestly, during that investigation, it felt like it helped us tune into that energy, to that realm, if you will, even more than we have before.
All right. And I got 5 questions. We got like a minute, 30 seconds. Just do rapid fire, 1-word answer if you can. Joe Walker's wanted to know, is Bill Chappell going to be in the new season? How's Bill?
Bill's doing great. I haven't gotten to talk to him too long, but he's one of my favorite people on this planet. He's our own little mad scientist. He's not in any of these new episodes right now, but we hope to get him back soon.
All right. And I really love the spirit boxes, Hillbilly Herb. I really love the spirit box devices you've used over the years, especially the Frank's box. Which is your favorite ghost box?
I'm a fan of just the classic SB7 spirit box. It's kind of plain and simple. I've been able to adapt it and kind of set it up for different experiments, but I like kind of just using the bare bones version.
All right. And we're not going to make it to the last couple questions. I do want to make sure that you get to tell everybody where they can find you and watch the show.
Absolutely. So yeah, new season 29 starts Wednesday, April 16th at 10 p.m. on Discovery Channel. You don't want to miss it. The first one's a 2-hour special investigating the poltergeist house. And then we're on every Wednesday after that at 10 p.m. on Discovery. And we also stream next day on Max and Discovery Plus. And I'm on all social medias, Jay Wasley Film, or just Jay Wasley on X.
Jay, I really do appreciate you coming out and hanging out here tonight. It was awesome stuff.
Yeah,
and I would love to definitely talk to you again here in the near future.
Absolutely. Sounds good. We can go on for hours.
We will, Jay. And we will, Jay. Don't get me started, man. All right. Well, you have a great rest of your night, man. It was a pleasure. And you take care.
Let me know when you're in Vegas.
Oh, yes. Soon. Very soon. All right. Take care.
Take care. Thanks.
Later. All right, Jay Wasley, ladies and gentlemen. Guys, make sure you guys go out and watch Ghost Adventures. The premiere for the new season is coming up here on the 16th. So what's today? It's the 13th. So I have to count days, 14, 15. So that's a Wednesday. Make sure you guys go out and support. We're going to go ahead and get ready to take our break before we jump into hour 3 right about now.
Conversations that move the needle.
Conversations that move the
You're
needle.
listening to After Hours with Mr. Rob G on the only place where you can own the night. Spaced Out Radio.
Spaced Out Radio.
You've tuned your dial to the right frequency.
All right, we're clear. See you guys in 5. All right, everybody, welcome back to Spaced Out Radio. After hour number 3 already is crazy. Time is going by so fast tonight. Thanks to our guests here, Jay Wasley. Make sure you go check out the show Ghost Adventures on Discovery. Check it out. Check it out. Support, show love as we get ready to come back from radio here in about 5 seconds and take it home tonight. Let's go. All right, everybody, welcome back. Spaced Out Radio after hour number 3, the third and final hour tonight. Is going to be a good one, too. We want to thank our guest, though, Jay Wasley, for hanging out hours 1 and 2, being a really awesome guest tonight. We will be talking again soon. We definitely will. Also, make sure you watch the show Ghost Adventures, premiering this coming Wednesday. Make sure you guys go check it out, support the show as we get ready to jump into some Steve Stockton Tales Unturned Missing Person Mysteries, and then also some Drew Banky with the After Hours wrap-up. So let's go ahead and hop right on into Steve Stockton as we always do. Let's go.
Welcome to Tales Untold and Missing Persons Mysteries on Spaced Out Radio's After Hours. My name is Steve Stockton, and I'm here to take you on a journey of mysteries, legends, and true stories. Come, join me on this strange adventure of Tales Untold and Missing Person Mysteries. Today we're going to delve into the dark, sometimes frightening world of shadow people. Now, a number of religions, legends, and belief systems describe shadowy spiritual beings or supernatural entities as shades of the underworld and other various shadow creatures, which have long been staples of folklore and ghost stories. There are many theories about where shadow people come from and whether or not they're even real. Skeptics note that seeing shadow people could simply be chalked up to sleep paralysis, heightened emotional states, or sleep deprivation, as people who have experienced these physiological and psychological conditions have noted a correlation, although, if I might add, that still doesn't fully explain why they're all seeing the same creepy kind of thing, right? But then there are the paranormal theories. These seem to resonate more with the people who have actually lived through the terrifying encounters and feel strongly that shadow people are more than just imaginary. Half of the paranormal researchers claim that shadow people are conscious, intelligent, interdimensional beings that can shapeshift into various forms and figurations and have the ability to move back and forth between dimensions, while the other half claim shadow people are of extraterrestrial origin. Now, there is no substantial proof of what these entities are and where they come from. In the professional field of clinical psychology, our own individual shadow is said to be that darker part of ourselves. Our shadow is our darkest thoughts, aggressions, and impulses that we keep hidden by our conscious mind. So are the shadow people a manifestation of our own subconscious thinking? And are we responsible for the existence of these beings? No matter what you believe these entities are, most who have encountered them say that they are pure evil and very real. What's alarming is the number of growing reports of encounters with these entities. The following stories have been sent into us by our subscribers to share in this video. It's important to note that these are allegedly real encounters and were obviously deemed as real by the people who experienced them. So we ask that you please be respectful in the comments section below. House of Shadows. I became aware of the shadows shortly after moving into my house in New Jersey. My daughter's playroom was in the basement, and they were constantly complaining that they were always seeing something move out of the corners of their eyes. My youngest also said they hovered near the ceiling. In later years, I had my floral workshop in the basement and saw them constantly. It got to the point where I could talk to them with my mind, not that they ever answered back. They were black. We saw them all over the basement, but mostly along one wall, and occasionally saw them along the same wall on the first floor and in the kitchen near the back door. We did not see them anywhere else on the house or elsewhere on the property. But even when we did not get a glimpse of them, we were aware when they were present. Some of them seemed to have an evil presence. A few years after we moved in, I told them they were not welcome in the house and the evil presence seemed to go away. Still, we had an uneasy feeling about them. Not fear, we just accepted they were there, as several steps taken over the years to make them go away didn't work anyway. Only once after the evil ones were told they were not welcome was I aware they came back. And I'm not sure if they were evil or just upset. I will explain later. Only once did I see one clearly, but it happened in a split second, and I did not see it from top to bottom. I was walking through the breakfast room into the kitchen. The kitchen light was on in the corner. It was by the back door in front of the stove. I was startled. I thought someone had come into the house. It all happened very fast, but the light from behind it did not pass through as it would a shadow. It was short and stocky and appeared as a silhouette of a person. It had a head. There were no discernible features, including no eyes, shoulders, arms, and a torso. It disappeared too fast to take note if it had legs or feet. I sensed it was as surprised as I was and did not intend to be seen. Then our house caught fire. It was a major fire that started from a shorted TV along the wall of shadows in the den. We were out of the house 6 months while it was repaired. About a week after the fire, I stopped by right before dark to pick up a few things. As I came onto the back porch and looked through the 6-foot hole where the picture window once was, I looked across the breakfast room at the basement doorway. I sensed 3 shadows near the doorway. It was almost dark outside, so I did not actually see them. I also got a very bad feeling about them and told them by thought that the evil ones were still not welcome in the house whether I was there or not. Then I turned and left without entering the house. I was quite rattled. Whether I had this feeling because I was also emotionally upset about the fire, I cannot say. The next day, I went back and it seemed the house was full of shadows, although I only caught a glimpse of them as usual, fleeing in the basement. And I'm not sure I really saw them as there were no lights on down there and the only light was from the window well windows. It was the only time I ever sensed that they tried to communicate. It seemed they were upset that we were not there because the house was all black. There was no light for them in the kitchen, and there were strangers in the house, the workers, every day. A few weeks later, burglars tried to steal the new appliances for the house. Everything was left in the kitchen by the back door. My daughters and I joked that they met up with the shadows and were scared off. Who knows? Signed, Mike. A dashing shadow. When I was younger, I lived in a ranch-style home with my mom and grandma. My mom and I had chosen to have our rooms in the basement, hers in the back corner, and mine in a sectioned-off area of the main living room recreational area down there. Her bedroom was connected both to her bathroom and the main living area, the bathroom door being in her room and the door leading to the living area being catty-corner with a door that led to the bathroom from the main living area. One night in particular, I remember playing with my Legos. I was probably 9 or 10, when I happened to look up at my mom's bedroom door. As I looked through that door, it became more and more apparent that there was something there. It had no facial features and was nothing more than a silhouette of a small person with really swooshy hair. After about a minute of looking at this shadow, it dashed into the bathroom via the door directly connecting the bathroom and the bedroom. In disbelief, I continued playing with my Legos when I felt something staring at me. As I looked up, I couldn't believe my eyes. The same shadow was now standing directly in the bathroom doorway. Now, I know it had no face, much less eyes, but it was staring, watching, perhaps even waiting. It almost immediately sprinted into my mom's room, at which point I sprinted up the stairs, tears of fear running down my face. After that instant, I could never be alone in the basement at night, and my bedroom was moved to one of the spare rooms upstairs. I wish I could say that this was the last of my experiences, but alas, it is not. This same shadow person followed me to several different houses, including the one I'm in now. Signed, Anonymous. It called to me, and I answered. I'm not usually one to talk about my situation, as it happened about 14 years ago. And anyone that I have gone out of my way to share this with immediately put a lot of discredit upon the topic. My spouse and close friends have always been the most intrigued. Only had one occurrence that I recall the most, and the others did not have as much substance behind it as this one did. When I was 14, I was sharing the basement recreation area with my stepbrother at the time. My parents had spent time building me a room in the basement at my request, but lo and behold, I slept most of the time out on the playroom, or whatever you wanted to call it. I didn't start sleeping in my room till I was probably 16. However, this instance further confirmed why I didn't. It was between 2 and 4 a.m. I don't recall the exact time, but I had originally fallen asleep on the floor next to the futon my stepbrother was sleeping on. He faced the wall and was heavily snoring to boot. I'd woken up and couldn't fall directly back to sleep, so I tossed and turned while the ambience of the TV kept spreading around the basement. Out of nowhere, I became completely stiff and unable to move my entire body but my neck and head. At this point, feet point to the wall and the TV behind me. I started to look around because I had become immediately filled with anxiety and fear. I was thinking of this being sleep paralysis at the time, until the next step took place. I laid there in silence, heavy snoring from my left. It felt as if someone or something was sitting on my body, restraining me by the shoulders, which, due to claustrophobia issues, freaked me out. I heard a very faint voice at first in the distance. "Josh, are you there? I know you're there." Eyes peeled wide open, trying to diagnose me being crazy at this point. It then spoke again. "Josh, can you hear me? I know you can hear me. Come to your bedroom." I continued to try and ignore it as I felt I was about to puke. I was becoming really scared. In a much louder, gruffer voice, it spoke to me again. "Josh, I know you can hear me. Come to your bedroom." As if the biggest weight was off my body, I was immediately able to move, and I sat up in a split second and rose to my feet. This voice continued to call my name and demand my presence in my room. Like any unoriginal horror movie, I was pleading with my brain to not do it, but stupid me decided to make way to the bedroom. The door always remained shut, and as I put my hand on the doorknob, I hear one more time. "Josh, are you coming? Open the door." As I opened the door, I had a small basement window, at the time big enough to sneak out of the house, parallel to the doorway. As I slowly creaked open the door in a cold sweat, there was what appeared to be a dim-lit yellow eye shapes in the window in the shape of some sort of dark figure staring deep into my soul. Wide-eyed and terrified, I looked up and was locked on for about 30 seconds. They got brighter and became dim, and then repeated. I slammed the door immediately and bolted to the other end of the basement for the light and proceeded to rock back and forth because there was no explanation. My brother woke up in a panic as I was petrified. We went back in the room together and turned the light on, and nothing was there. Nothing was outside as we went and checked further. He stayed up with me for a bit until I fell back asleep, and nothing like that occurred again. I cannot advise whom, why, where, or what, but it has left the biggest impact on me to this day. I know the difference between dreaming and being in an altered state of mind, but this was the most real I have ever felt behind a paranormal episode. That voice makes my body tingle and hair on my arms raise every time I think about it. I feel good knowing that I'm not completely alone in this type of thing, and all I can do is hold on to the memory, as nothing has been explained or uncovered otherwise. Signed, Josh.
All right, Tales Untold, Missing Person Mysteries. We appreciate Steve Stockton for being a part of the show and providing such great content. Remember, you can go ahead and get more of Steve Stockton right over here on YouTube. Tales Untold, Missing Person Mysteries is the channel. And definitely dive in, show some love and support Steve Stockton as well. Now it's about time we jump into our after hours wrap up with Drew Banky.
You're a name of a monster!
Come here, I'm gonna eat you! Get in my belly!
Get down in the north! Get down north! Go it! Wolfman's got north!
Yes, definitely. We have Drew Banky joining us with the After Hours wrap up. Drew Banky, how you doing, man? Appreciate you coming in, sir.
Yo, 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 we on the night, all that good stuff. What a guest. He's a cool dude. I like Jay.
He definitely is a cool dude. And as we said earlier, we got to give Drew props for setting it up, man. Drew, you got my back, man. In a lot of cases, you bring me the guys that we need to have over here, man. And I appreciate that. As I'm out here working to do the exact same thing, we'll keep moving the needle. That's just what we'll do.
Yeah, when situations present itself, and I see people that I would like to have on the show that I have access to, and I do everything in my power to make it happen. So I'm glad that everybody here, I believe in Dave. I love Dave from the first interview I did with them, and you as well. And Spaced Out Radio is a great spot, and I love to support that in any way I can. So if I can make connections like with Jay and other people, I love to do it.
Awesome stuff, Drew Banky. And when you get on Joe Rogan, then we need Joe Rogan on this show. So tell Joe it's a 1-for-1. So say if he brings you on, then you gotta come on. You gotta have that trade, man. We gotta have Joe Rogan.
Yeah, I'm letting him know now. I'm putting it out. The longer that he waits, the more that it's gonna cost to get me on his show. I'm just saying. My net worth on social and everything is going up daily. So I'm just saying.
That's what's up. Hey, cost to be the boss, man. And that's good stuff, right? So we had Jay come in tonight. Okay, he's on the Ghost Adventure show, which once again we're not really supposed to say dates here, but it's coming up this Wednesday. So make sure you guys go and support and watch the show. I actually watched some of the shows as well, and I was already had already watched the Demon House movie or documentary some time back years ago. And just as I told him, it was intriguing to me because you had in that documentary so many different individuals that said that they experienced whatever this force was inside of this house. And police officers getting on camera saying, yeah, it was real. Like we really experienced that while we were there. And that's the kind of stuff that made me feel like, wow. So this isn't just, it took it over the top for me as far as making me feel like, okay, this is more possible than not with all these people saying this. This is insane. And they had news outlets that covered it as well as it was going on. So you can't deny that.
Yeah. 29 seasons in, that says a lot about the clout of the show. So where am I going? Anyways, technical difficulties. Yeah, 29 season ends, that talks about the clout of the show. It definitely, you don't last that long without having some type of context that people like. And people can sniff out fakes. And I've seen a few of the episodes. I haven't seen all of them. I haven't seen all 28 seasons of it, but that's it's quality work. And he's a solid dude. His spiritual side and everything. It's no wonder that we aligned and we met. Just hearing some of the things he was talking about, it's like I've said so many times with so many guests. I've hear the exact same phrases that I have said to explain how to articulate the unarticulatable things that happen in this phenomenon. And it's funny to hear the same verbiage in the same way come through, and the way he describes things. So yeah, and the crossover, towards the end of the interview, talking about the crossover from the paranormal into UFO and spiritual and everything, how it's all connected. And yeah, it's just interesting. And then he was talking about four corners and stuff like that. So that's the same area where I had the face-to-face encounter that is gaining a lot of traction right now. So,
and I'm glad that early in the interview he went ahead and just approached it. I was going to have to ask him the question anyways, but he went ahead and approached it first, which I thought was awesome, where he talked about his experience on the show, and that seeing the final product really captures exactly what the experience was, and that there are shows out there that don't necessarily do that, or they make things up for certain, to hit certain milestones in the show.
Sure.
And he separated himself from that, and also had a skeptical view, and keeps a skeptical view when it comes to looking at this. And I think it's important. And then the other thing is that as anybody in under the phenomena, I don't care if you're in paranormal, if you're a cryptid person, if you're a UFO person, Bigfoot, Sasquatch, just make sure that you have a purpose with the data that you're getting and the data that you're capturing. Make sure that it's going to be left on the table at the very least for other people to look at, so that we could further and try to get some answers in this. And that's why I always ask, because a ghost hunter is a skeptic. Will be quick to laugh off a ghost hunter, but I want to make sure that people are in this for the right reasons. Like, they really have a passion and a want to get answers for us, who are just kind of sitting around not doing any paranormal research. And these people are out there trying to get answers on our behalf, which I think is freaking cool.
Sure. Yeah, when that brought up a thought too, in me, when he was talking about that, about how it's filmed and how it's portrayed and everything. As you know, I'm a fellow Discovery Channel brethren of Jay's
You
for
are.
Homestead Rescue. So I understand, like, if you see like the episode, our episode on Homestead Rescue, the one that was here at the house, there's another one coming out at the end of this year, and when season 13 comes out. But in season 11, when we had our full episode, they filmed, just to put it in perspective, they filmed for 9 days from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and we had a 1 hour lunch break in between. But for 9 days of filming, they filmed for what is that? 9 a.m. to, it's 7-8 hours a day for 9 days. The episode was only just over an hour, so there's a ton of footage that doesn't get put in, and that gets picked through by post-production people and all that stuff, especially when you get to those bigger places. So I think it's really cool that he puts that stamp on, like, what you see is what you get. Like, we're not making anything up, we're not embellishing anything. And there's times when we go place, and I love it that he said there's times when we go place and nothing happens.
Exactly, because it can't always happen. Even though the energy is there, there has to be that one time where it was a dud and just nothing took place. And yeah, and that's the thing, man. And that's why I always want to make sure that we ask questions like that, respectful, and just but still questions the skeptics might want to have answers to as well. Because once again, I'm all about uniting both sides in this conversation and getting us to work together. And one of their fair criticisms, skeptics, that is that sometimes we don't ask the right questions to some of the guests. So totally making sure that that's what we do from here on, in a respectful manner. And just getting that's how you move this thing along, and that's how we'll continue to do so. We're actually about to go into our final break right here of the night with Drew Banky and the After Hours wrap up. Once again, just an awesome interview with Jay Wasley from Ghost Adventures. Make sure that you guys go show some love and support over there and check it out. Otherwise, we're going to be right back here with the last 30 minutes of the show. It's going to be powerful, impactful. It's going to be awesome. Don't go anywhere. Make sure that if you do leave, like I always say, you can leave. Right, just make sure you come right back. We'd appreciate it.
Back.
See you in just a minute. Clear.
Yeah, bro. I sent a clip over to your Facebook. I forgot to send. He sent me 2 clips before. I apologize, Jay. He sent me 2 clips. I got one over to you.
Where are they? We'll show them right now because I was going to show his trailer again anyway, so I can show him here.
Should be in Facebook. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and these are public clips anyways. You can find them like on the website.
Both here before. This is Jay on Digital Social Hour podcast with Drew Banky. Was also on that show, right?
Yeah, and that just I think that interview just dropped this morning. So he's had a huge day of media. Just shout out to him.
That was brand new. Okay, I saw this actually. I thought it was I didn't catch the date on it. Okay.
Oh,
awesome
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, that just come out today, but that clip is underneath it, that Discovery that 1 minute thing, that second one.
All
is
right.
One of the clips that he sent me for the show. So I asked him if he had any clips to share, and yeah, that's not that one.
Tend to happen better for
yeah, go down.
And I think that kind of plays into like the voodoo.
There's a clip below it.
Yeah. It's the other. Okay. That's the first one you sent me. Okay.
Yeah, that's so. This interview just dropped today, and that's how we got connected through that show and stuff. So,
all right, let me cue this up here. I think this is it. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, okay, cool. Because I did play this. I played this earlier. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we're good.
All right.
I was gonna play it again anyway. So.
No, let me. I got another one also. This is
Throw some stuff down here. Hauntings, ghosts, spirits, real life witches. We just reviewed some absolutely incredible evidence. Throw some stuff down here back in the day, old stuff. Nobody else has ever investigated this before. The world's most
one coming at you. This is the one you have.
This is going to be a monumental investigation. Our biggest, most historic seance to date. Harry Houdini. We're going to use your energy, a blood relative.
Oh, this is evidence. You didn't play this, did you?
Just like old Ghost Adventures, we are locked down. What are we exposing ourselves to? I think this is getting dangerous. There's somebody bad back here. I'll sacrifice myself. Dad! Do not come here.
All right, so make sure you guys go and support that. Go ahead. If we have time, we have like 1.5. We'll play as much as we can here.
Yeah, I think they're both a minute. So,
all right, let me. Facebook, boy.
Facebook.
It's so fun. Facebook is so on point. Not.
Oh, and for you guys who don't know, I turned 45 this past Friday. It was a beautiful day spent with my family, low key.
Well, happy birthday, Jabeki.
Thanks. Next year, my birthday's on Easter.
After the show tonight. before we shut it down. We got about 20 seconds left here. All right.
How now, brown cow? How now, brown cow?
How now, brown cow? 2 seconds. Here we go. All right, everybody. Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio, the After Hours radio show. We're on that third after hour. We just finished our last break. We only have like 25 minutes before we shut it all down. Definitely was a great show. I'm telling you, if you missed any of it, make sure you hop in the archive, youtube.com/A Spaced Out Radio. It was an awesome interview with our guest, Jay Wasley. Now we're back here with Drew Banking, After Hours Wrap-Up, as we jump further into talking about this interview here tonight. So we talked about how so awesome that, you know, being in this field, that you have a reason, you have an end goal, you have something that you want to see accomplished from the work that you're doing. And I really feel like in every field under the phenomena, that should be the outlook or the approach of the researcher, the person that's engaging. I don't know if you got a chance to answer to that. Did you? If not,
What specifically was the question?
it was just basically the looking at the fact that and the importance of, if you're going to be a researcher, if you're going to be out there researching the phenomena, whatever part of the phenomena you're researching, that your intent is pure and your intent is to move this conversation forward and to get answers and to try to help solve these riddles that we're looking at every day.
Yeah. It's about pushing the needle. I mean, that's ultimately what it should be about, pushing the needle, and not for your own personal gain. You know, that comes secondary. You know, the main focus has to be moving the message. And we've seen time and time again, people fizzle out when their intentions start to shift at a certain point of delivering the message, you know. And that's definitely something that I think about. You know, I always obviously do a lot of work behind the scenes, promoting, sending out emails, trying to make connections, connecting to people, talking to people, and trying to, grow social and things like that. But that's all secondary. The main focus behind Drew and Drew's message and what he's trying to share, and I think that's, I think it goes across the board on anything, is the betterment of mankind, and what is that? Moving the needle, really. And that's what we say time and time again. That's what our main focus is, and that's why I show up here late night and spend 2 hours behind stage, and then for my 30 minutes of talking, because I believe in it, and I believe in all this.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's definitely, everybody has to play a part in this. There's always something that someone can do to try to get the message out there and to move the needle. And the thing is that it's such a big task when we look at really what the whole goal is. Like we were talking about, and I was going to say this to him, when I asked him the question, like, what do you hope to achieve in this? Or what if there was one thing that you could accomplish? He was like, pretty much finding the answer to why we are here, like the meaning of life. And when you look at that, that's top 3. Like, it's the meaning of life. Why are we here? Why are they here? Talking about extraterrestrials, and when is the price of eggs coming down? Those are like the top 3 questions that we have as human beings in this time that we're living in. So it's powerful to see somebody take on something like that. That's a selfless task, because you're putting so much energy into doing it, into attempting to make things happen because of it, that you may, like you said, burn out or without reaching your goal, or you may take the wrong path, like some people you were hinting at that all of a sudden see dollar signs and now they're doing this and they're going that way, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's all it's all part of it, you know, like the money comes part of it. Like I don't believe in, you know, that's why I vibe with some of the things that Billy Carson talks about with the woke not being broke book. Like I don't believe that you should have to be you should be living in a cave and wearing the same, only have one set of clothes, and you know, surviving off of beans to be spiritual, or things, you know, or things like that. There's, you have to also, I think it's a balance. I think that's the biggest test of this spiritual evolution that we're going through right now of humanity, is finding the balance of in all of it, because it's all, like I've said time and time again, it's all sacred, because it's all an idea in someone's mind at one time that's now in the physical, whether it be, you know, AI, or you know, a new Buddha statue, or anywhere in between. It's all sacred. You know, it's all because it was all an idea in someone's mind. So we have to look at the facts and not, like, you know, not judge things. We have to come to the realization that um you know, we're coming into an age of non-judgment, you know, and that's if we want, because it doesn't feel good when people judge us, and then we turn around and judge things of other people all the time. We just pass it on. So at some point we have to stop the cycle. And you know, that's the real work right now is internal, man. And if these shows, like Ghost Adventures, like Spaced Out Radio, and all these other things that we're involved in, if it helps just one or two people, you know, like come to some type of realization, some type of peace, and do their inner work inside themselves, that's actually moving the needle. And really, that's really moving the needle, is getting someone to process something that they've been through, and come out the other side a little bit better. And that's the basis of it, you know.
That's why I hold people in this community accountable, and I'm doing so more now. You know, whereas some of the things that skeptics and some of the opinions that skeptics have had about us in this community, I've embraced those things. And really, I've felt that way the entire time, because I feel like you should always be middle of the road and open to suggestions and ideas, which means that something that you are looking at as truth today could be disproved, and you have to be open to that and not just be closed minded. So, and we've been burned a few times over the last few years with fake videos and you know, whistleblowers that may not seem like they're being 100% truthful, and skeptics are right to call those people out and to hold those people accountable. And I just feel like we just need to do that more in our community here. We need to, you know, take some advice from the skeptics there, because we should have a little bit of skeptic in us anyways, that puts us in a position where we are not just jumping aboard because someone says something. We're actually taking the data, we're processing it, we're looking through it, and then we're not just letting people immediately dismiss things either, because it goes both ways.
That brings up a good point that man, why am I keep doing this? Technical difficulties. Sorry. That brings up a good point of something that I forgot to talk on about the interview. Think of the volume of incidences that he's been a part of, like how many investigations. This is in season 29, and it come out of his mouth. He's every other week they're filming somewhere. So you know, just by definition of experience, like experiential expertise, you know, I don't know what other word you could put on it, but that sounds pretty good. But just how many times he's been there. Like that's the people I want to talk to. Like I would love to talk to people that has done a few investigations, things like that. I love to have those guests on too. But when you have someone's here that's on their 29th episode and they've been every other week pretty much the whole time filming and investigating, man, those are the people what I want to talk to, because I want to hear the best stories, of what they encountered. So
And you said 29 episodes, you mean 29 seasons, but
29 season, yeah. But just how many, I mean, I don't even know how many episodes it is on there, but just, and he's still working.
10.
I mean,
yeah, probably 10 or something like that. Standard over 300 episodes basically is what you can say. So with that being said, it does in not only that time in the field also allows you to take historical data once again, which is the driving point, is historical data, being able to have that to lean on, so that when you're dealing with something in the current time, you have that to weigh against and vet the information against. And that's what he has been doing this for 29 seasons, is the experience and knowing that they faced something like this before. What happened last time? Okay, and then now you can further the data, but it doesn't matter if you don't do anything with it, right? Yeah. Like some of these groups gather data and then they don't share it with anyone. They just hold on to it. But if you have a goal to make a change out here as far as humanity goes and our understanding of who we are and what life is, then that means you're open to sharing your data. And so that's a big key. And I'm just, we just need more people like that. We were poo-pooing the whole, scientist aspect of this phenomena, and scientists wanting to come in and only take it through the scientific process. And I still feel that way about that, but we need to just borrow some of that mindset for ourselves as well, adopt some of those ideas. And I think if we do so, we become stronger experiencers. We become stronger, more credible individuals on, as far as data goes. And I think it's just a good look for our community and something we should all consider doing. It only makes sense.
Yeah. And I can always tell, I sat here in the background and I'm in the chat for the 2 hours while the guest is talking every week, whenever the guest is on each weekend. And I get to see, like, really, I can tell by what's going on in the chat by how much is really getting to people. Because sometimes people are being in the chat and there's a side conversation going on that's not even about the guest. It's just talking about whatever's going on in the news or whatever. Sometimes there's conversations break out, and you see none of that tonight. And there was tons of questions, and so it's, you got people's minds, Jay, this interview got people's minds activated, and definitely, I'm sure there's going to be a few new viewers that have never seen the show that's going to be watching the show from the front, that's watched, that's part of the SOR family. So and I'm sure there's people that's was either in the chat or was watching live tonight or is going to watch it down the road, that is from the Ghost Adventures family, and that they're going to open up to new things. They're going to look through the archives and find different videos and maybe be in future episodes. So I think it's great, and these are the type of interviews that will keep growing viewership, the views. This interview will keep growing views on and on. And some of them you see will stop growing after a few days. That you won't see any more views come on, but this interview that we had here tonight, this is the type that will have viewers trickle in over time for a long time to come, I think.
And the important part is just having, once again, capturing the data. So every show is data. And so it's there. It's on the board. It's there for someone else to research later on. Hop in the archives. They're absolutely free. You can jump in and check out a show. Maybe they didn't get a lot of views, and it ends up being the topic if it's sensational enough, but it doesn't take away from the importance of that conversation. That's why we'll keep having those regardless on how many views the video gets. It only gets a few. Okay, you weren't interested that day, but it's there, and it's there in perpetuity for you to come back and watch anytime because our archives are absolutely free. Drew Banky, man. Oh man, appreciate the connect once again, man. You're doing great work here, man. You're very important to what we do. Your analysis and the time you take to watch the interviews, that's part of what you have to do in order to do the wrap up, because you got to know what was talked about. And I appreciate the commitment, sir, and delivering, man, each and every time you come on, brother.
Yeah, man. I believe in it. I believe in you, believe in Dave, and believe in everything the SOR is doing. Come see me in a couple weeks if you're in the Midwest. I'll be in Wisconsin. Tickets still available. Contact Modeli's Expo May 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Chris Bledsoe, Jimmy Church, Adam Apollo, Deb Shakti, Drew Banky. I just got bumped up to the main stage on Friday at 2 p.m. I'll be speaking on the evolution of psychedelics and its role in the evolution of humanity. 1.5 hour presentation. Last half hour would be a Q&A. I'm going to have a book signing. I'll be at the VIP luncheon and also holding a workshop. So come see me there. And if not, the last weekend in April, I'll be in Joshua Tree holding another retreat. Still got some seats open for that. Sacred Dreams Within or Drew Banky in any social, reach out, let me know, and we'll get it set up.
Please do that. Please take Drew up on these offers. Go out and see him if you're in the area and you can make it to the conference. Also go support as well. Drew, we're going to do this again. We're going to get everything set up for next week. I'll be reaching out to you about what we're going to do, and then we'll go from there.
Love it.
All right, man. Have a good rest of your night. Take care.
Man.
Later. Drew Banky, ladies and gentlemen. Drew Banky, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go ahead and attempt to get into, we can get maybe one good news story out of here tonight, and I think we're going to try that. Let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
UFO and weird news. I have a few stories, and I just want to make sure that it isn't a story about poo or anything like that, because I know I did that one time. I read a story not knowing fully what it entailed, and it was just a story about poo. And the audience loved it, but it felt kind of weird. So let me go ahead and pick one here. All right. People convinced they found alien technology as mysterious tower discovered on Google Maps in Area 51. A nice conspiracy theory. The weekends finally rolled around again, and for those of you lucky enough to not be working, that might mean sitting out in the sun, catching up with mates, or endlessly doom scrolling while you binge telly. But each of those could include one same key thing: conspiracy theories. Oh, go on, be honest. Even if you think they're totally ridiculous, a big juicy theory can get you hooked. And when it comes to the go to for a bit of bizarre mystery, Area 51 has to be up there with people recently convinced that they found alien technology. Yet, the majority of us absolutely cannot go there. It's surrounded by warning signs from the U.S. surveillance and armed guards, and it's even illegal to fly over it. But there's one way you can go there, kind of anyway: Google Maps. With curiosity never seeming to fade away, people have been using the site to take a tour around Area 51 and are convinced that they found something as a mysterious tower was discovered. If you want to have a look for yourself, search for 37 degrees 14-46.5 northwest 115 degrees, 49-24.0 west. North of Las Vegas, Nevada, Area 51 is the popular nickname for a United States Air Force facility that is so shrouded in secrecy, many have decided it's connected to aliens and UFOs. Screenshotting the satellite image from Google Maps, the tower went viral on social media as speculation quickly began over just what it actually is. As users on Reddit asked just what the tall triangle-shaped tower at Area 51 is, answers quickly came in, ranging from serious to the, well, not so serious at all. One suggested, quote, it's 100% involved in radar signals. It's literally impossible to tell you the frequency of the signal or direction it's coming from. Another quote, this is why it's out in the open for everyone to see. That being said, I would put money on a phased array system. A second pondered, quote, probably air traffic control. Doesn't look like any kind of radio tower. Could be some weird kind of water tower. Another wondered if it's the platform used to test radar signal returns from prototypes. With plenty agreeing it could be a radar tower. While on the other, more fun end, someone said it's a sundial so the aliens know when to go home after the shift ends. Another quote was, the Avengers Tower, duh, another added. A third quip, it's where the aliens test their various white powders. Another quote, obviously alien technology. It pops out when the Earth is done. A fourth wrote, while one summed the whole thing up as they joked, quote, it was built to specifically provoke theoretical conversation. And I think that's what that did. You go and look at those coordinates on Google Maps, and you'll see exactly what it is that they're talking about. You know, if it was anything worth anything, they would have scrubbed that from Google. So I don't count on it being anything that the government is worried about, you or I, or adversaries like China and Russia, and potentially extraterrestrials. We're looking at those guys as adversaries too. You know, you just there's some compelling information out there that makes me feel like that might be the case. If you want to know more about that, go over to my channel, youtube.com/at Mr. Rob G, where we have those type of conversations. And we actually talked about if, in fact, one of the reasons that the government is handling the extraterrestrial situation like this is if they know that these things are in fact adversarial and considered adversarial. I don't know, it makes a lot of sense. However, we want to thank our guest tonight, Jay Wasley, Ghost Adventures. Make sure you guys go out and watch the show. Awesome for hanging out for hours 1 and 2. Also, we want to thank Steve Stockton, Tells Untold Mispersed Mysteries, and of course, Drew Banky with the After Hours wrap up. Fun show. Make sure if you missed any of it, you hop in the archive. Also, we also want to thank the man you hear right here, right now, Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Doll. He's the man that rocks us out each and every weekend and teaches us. He tells us, hey, never say never again, because yes, the phenomena is real, which means anything and everything is possible underneath that. If you love tonight's show, make sure you hit the like. Also, throw your horns up. It has been a pleasure serving you, and we appreciate you tuning your frequency to Spaced Out Radio, where we actually do what we do best, and we do it all the time. What's that, you ask? We own the night. This show has been copyright SOR Media Ventures Limited, Spaced Out Radio. It's been a pleasure serving you once again as your host. I'm Mr. Rob G. This is the After Hours Radio Show. And to all you space travelers out there, all of you space travelers out there, this is not a goodbye nor a farewell. However, as we go out there for the night, you could best believe we'll be back doing the same thing, same time, same place. Much love to everybody out there. Have a wonderful week. Take care of each other and take care of yourself. Till next time. We are clear. Awesome show, everybody. It was great. I really had a fun time here with you guys. You guys always bring the best questions. We are going to be ramping things up. Like I said, we're working on a big name guest to come here to the After Hours, one of the biggest names in the industry right now. And that's pretty much all I'll say. We're in communication. We just need to set the date. And I promise you, it's going to be one of those conversations that you don't want to miss, unlike you've ever heard before. And we're going to make sure that we do Spaced Out Radio proud on that one, and also show out for you guys, the viewers, the audience, because we appreciate you coming in. And as well, if we have any Ghost Adventure viewers that have come and watched the show tonight, we'd appreciate seeing you guys come back. This channel runs 7 days a week. You're right now at the After Hours Radio Show, which runs Saturdays and Sundays, 8 p.m. Pacific until 11 p.m. Then you got Dave Scott running the Woo Train Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Pacific until midnight. You got Lee and Tim running Element 115 on Fridays, 8 p.m. Pacific until 9. Also, I have a channel, youtube.com/ and then just put in my name, as you see right there. Just put in at Mr. Rob G. So youtube.com/ at Mr. Rob G. You'll be taken to the social dig where we do a lot of awesome stuff, a lot of awesome conversations, a lot of deep conversations as well. And that's the place for that. So with that being said, guys, it was been a pleasure tonight. I want to thank the super chats that did come through, which is Deb from Sacramento showing love, as well as Lavera Lucchini. Thank you so much, Lavera, for your love and support of Spaced Out Radio. We appreciate you guys. We are up out of here. We want retribution. I'll see you guys next week for sure. You guys all take care.
Cause we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution.